Welcome to the Legendary Upside podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Pat Corain. You can follow all of my content at legendaryupside.com. With me today, Rich Hribar, Lord Reebs. We're going to be talking through the week 3 slate as part of our Angles and Upside podcast. Reebs, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Week 2 was a little bit better, not just as a player, but as the NFL. The NFL was a little bit
The
better. We saw
NFL was a little bit
touchdowns.
better.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we care about. Because even we always talk about as fantasy analysts, like sometimes we have takes, and people always ask me sometimes, like, "Well, you wrote up this player as you weren't on him in the offseason, and like now he's good, like, and you're like happy about it." And I was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "Because fantasy football is better. We want as many good players as possible,
Right.
like you know."
Right.
And last week, seeing some actual points scored and fantasy points scored, even though I didn't get all of them, like I was happy that there was just points to be scored out in the universe.
100%. And like Bijan Robinson's the cover boy of the walkthrough this week. We'll get to that game here in a second. I would ultimately my legendary running back article. I was like, I'm going to take Gibbs. I'm taking Gibbs, and I'm not taking Bijan as the running back one. I'd rather take CD. I'm taking Chase. So I guess I'm fading Bijan, and then Bijan's awesome, and I'm like, well, that was dumb. But I'm glad Bijan's awesome. That it's
Right.
more fun with an awesome Bijan, and they're using him as a receiver in a really fun way. So um, getting to that game. Uh, this matchup really jumped out to me, and it's not exactly under the radar that the Panthers defense is not good. It's not good in pass defense or run defense. I think Penix should be able to kind of keep things on the rails here pretty nicely. Part of that is going to be throwing to Bijan Robinson, though, who's up from a 14% target share last year to 20% this year. He's at 2.31 yards per route run. So the receiving role is really, really nice. He has lost some carries to Tyler Algier, getting some of that short yardage stuff and being used as kind of a like a fourth quarter closer type of guy. But Robinson's receiving role is so damn good. Like even with losing some of that work to Algier over the last 2 weeks, he's at 20.2 expected points per game and in PFF's expected points model. This is a game where you could also see the Panthers, just as they've done, kind of air it out. They're behind and they just start passing because they can't really do anything else. And maybe that kind of keeps this game a little bit more voluminous than the one we just saw in Minnesota, where they had the Falcons had just a 40% pass rate. So I actually think Bijan is better off if there's a little bit of passing here, and the matchup is so juicy on both the run and the pass side of it for the Falcons. Just kind of a classic spot where I could see him being, a 3-down workhorse and ripping off big plays in a good matchup.
Yeah, we need the Carolina side here to give us a little push. They've just been so anemic from where they left off last year. You remember last year they were putting up a fight. Now, obviously, they had the shootout
Mhm.
with the Falcons, but like remember they took the Chiefs to overtime. They almost beat the Eagles. Like if Xavier Legette catches that pass against the Eagles, like they were in games that they shouldn't have been in, right? Either. And it's like,
Yeah,
man, like
yeah.
the fighting analysis, like this is what brought Bryce Young back because statistically he wasn't like still electric in the back half of the year, but they were like playing
No.
competitive games and punching up. And that's what kind of gave people this hope. And now this year they've come out so bad in the first half of these. They've been outscored 40-6 in the first half of these opening 2 games. And it's just kind of put them in these jailbreak game scripts in the second half. And it's also put their opponents into these situations where they're just not doing anything in the second half of
Right.
either game. And that's what's kind of why we want some pushback from them. And we saw that Atlanta do this last week. They had a 44% drop back rate last week. It was 31st. And last year when these two teams played, they only had a 51.9% drop back rate. And then it was going back to the game, Michael Penix's first start against the Giants last year when they played at the lead. They also were very just run heavy. And Zach Robinson comes from Sean McVay, and Sean McVay would do this sometimes when they were up ahead. So we do need some push from the Carolina side to just keep the tempo because you're right. Like this is just a matchup. We want to attack with all the core Falcons pieces. We just need Carolina to just give us something more than they've given us these first 2 weeks.
So if you look at the Falcons defense, it looks really, really strong through 2 weeks. They're second in passing DVOA, they're fifth in EPL per dropback, they're second in dropback success rate against. But looking at I was actually listening to Ollie Connolly break down the way that the Falcons looked against the Vikings, and he was like pretty unimpressed with their coverage, pointing out coverage breakdowns, pointing out that Kevin O'Connell seemed to correctly be attacking Billy Bowman, the rookie nickel cornerback, but basically JJ McCarthy just failed. It was his read that this was actually a defense that should have gotten exposed in a pretty big way last week, going up against a really good offensive mind in Kevin O'Connell, but maybe a guy who's not really ready yet in JJ McCarthy. It doesn't look like this is a defense that's exploitable, but we can count on the Panthers to have volume. I think they had an 80% pass rate last week. So if there's opportunities here in the passing game, I think the Panthers could find them. Maybe they don't find them until 5 minutes left in the third quarter, until the end of the game. We get a nice little 20 minutes. But yeah, I mean it's like we do. I mean, the Panthers are frustrating because they probably are going to get down and then they're going to be passing a ton. And does that push the Falcons? Do the Falcons feel comfortable enough to just kind of, we can kind of run our game and let the clock run out? But I think there is potential for them to push the Falcons here, especially if the Falcons defense isn't as tough as it looks through 2 weeks. I think it's improved from last year for sure, but I don't think they're like a top 5 defense, which is how the numbers have it right now.
And they aren't going to have AJ Terrell in this game as well, which kind of opens some things up, you would hope, on the back end to attack some more of their younger cornerbacks there and younger defensive backs have to play too. Because, Xavier Watts is also playing a lot of snaps for them on the back end. And hopefully this is a good spot for Tet to kind of really cash in.
Yeah.
Tet's like and he did get 100 yards last week, but he's like through 2 weeks, he's like the almost, right? Like it's the hand, horseshoes and hand grenades, like lines for him. Like he makes these plays that you're like, oh my God, that was such a sick play. And you're like, yeah, it didn't count. Like he had another one of those last week, like a one-handed catch on the sideline. You're like, oh my God, I've never seen a human do that. And you're like, oh yeah, well, I don't get points for that. Like cool. like that was really cool. But yeah, and they're gonna be missing 2 offensive linemen too. So there's some injury kind of impact on this game. And it's kind of an epidemic right now with the NFL. Like no one's really talking about it. I had a couple of charts on this the last couple of years about like offensive line continuity, but since the NFL's gone to like these extended games, the 17 game schedule, just like these offensive lineman injuries are starting to really stack up across the league. And we've got a number of offensive linemen like out again this week, and they've already made an imprint on the start of the season in some offenses. It's hard to like quantify them because it's like a 1 of 5 or a 2 of 5, right? But we know that offensive lines can be like a weak link, like a unit. Like if you have like 4 great offensive linemen and 1 bad offensive lineman, it could make the other 4 guys look worse. And
100%. Because I mean, the pass rush is a strong link system where if you have Micah Parsons, you don't
Myles Garrett, like you got Myles Garrett, like cool.
It's nice to have other pass rushers too, but like you don't need them necessarily, So right. And then you're going up against a weak tackle. You make sure So offensive line injuries, especially when they start to stack up. We'll get to the Bucs, but they're going to be without both tackles, which is obviously not great.
Tackle, guard, maybe 2 guards. But let me ask you this game, because I think mostly people are going to play this game pretty straight up as expected. Bijan's in a good spot. Maybe you even take a flyer that Tyler Algier stacks some opportunities and get the chance to get in the box. You go back to London and the volume. You've got Tet that people are going to just play because we know that the opportunity has been there. What do you make of these first 2 weeks of Kyle Pitts so far?
I like the usage. I mean, he's been out there so much more. I wrote up last year. I haven't looked into the play action stuff, but I look over the offseason. I look into the play action participation ratios for the tight ends, looking at their route participation on play action dropbacks compared to the route participation overall, because it gives you a sense of like, are these dudes big receivers in a bad way? Like they pull them off the field on run plays, and then they're not out there for play action, which is a big deal for tight ends, where we see the backup tight ends score touchdowns. What was it? Who was the tight end who scored last night? And then
Jackson Haas.
And they're like, our good friend Chris Collinsworth has this guy's the best tight end in the league over at PFF. That's not an advertisement for PFF, man. Don't do him like that. But that
played 7 snaps.
Yeah, like, you gotta set the snap minimum, man. um, but yeah, I mean, you see that stuff all the time, and then you don't want these tight ends getting pulled for those types of runs. But when you have 87% route participation, as Kyle Pitts does, that's where you start to not have to worry about that so much. He's like an every route type of guy right now, which is awesome. So I would say my note of caution would be he has an 11% first read target rate,
Mhm.
which would indicate maybe he's not a huge part of the game plan, but he's got a 21% targets per out run. So he's earning targets. He's got a connection with Penix, and he's running all the routes. And this is a good matchup for Penix to be efficient, even if there's not much volume. So yeah, I think he's definitely in play. And I had him as a low end tight end 1 in the rankings this week.
Yeah, that's kind of where I had him too. I wrote him up as one of my tight end DFS plays too, just for the price point. Yeah, I had him as 4, not at the top, because like just because he's a pivot off of Juwan Johnson and Jake Ferguson, who
Mm-hmm.
are like basically the same price. So it was
Yeah.
like, if you do want to kind of get away from these two maybe popular tight ends, maybe Kyle Pitts is a guy that we can luck box into maybe a vertical play. But like you, I mean, it's just the fact that he's on the field this year compared to last year, because,
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't block last year and he felt lost in the system. And it didn't feel like a system fit. And then he was part of like trade talks this offseason. And it was like, man, maybe Zach Robinson just kind of like, this guy, he went to the front office and was like, this guy just doesn't work with what I do. And it's positive to see a coordinator maybe work around that and say, like, maybe this isn't the perfect tight end for what I want to do or what I want my tight ends to do, but I can find a way to kind of marriage some of the stuff that he could do well with the things I want to do. And it feels like that's happening. And Zach Robinson's been a guy through a year and just a couple game sample that I'm pretty high on, because he always feels like he's always changing stuff. And that's what I like to see coordinators do, is like, hey, this isn't working, or I have to work around this. Like the Kirk Cousins stuff at the beginning of last year, when it was clear, it's like, dude, this dude, I can't move. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do to work around this? And Zach Robinson calibrated that, and then started to work around, getting Penix when he took over last year. It's like he was constantly calibrating, and I like that. I like my guys to tinker.
Yeah. No, I like that too. I'll also note Neil Orfield on the DFS pod, we do shouted out Darnell Mooney here as a kind of under the radar, more large field play, and I'll piggyback on that. Where you want to talk about routes? He logged 100% route
Mhm.
participation last week, which I think tells you he's healthy. Yards per route run just 0.83, 17% targets per route run. So not exactly roaring back in his return, but he was good last year. The offense should be efficient. And if he's able to run all the routes like that, you can kind of bet on last year's profile to shine through a little bit in this spot under the radar play. I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone should be panicking yet on Drake London. I've seen some panic in the streets out there. I mean, he had 15 targets in week 1, and then they just didn't throw
Yeah.
in week 2.
Yeah. They literally didn't throw. They ran
Yeah.
60% of the time. Like, come on, you know? um, God, I really hope the Panthers can at least keep things a little lively. I don't know if the Browns will be able to keep things lively. They're going against, like, you want to talk about offensive line injuries, and then going up against Micah Parsons. Like, it's a rough spot for the Browns here. It looks like they're gonna like I was breaking down their offensive line stuff, and it's rough. And then they're gonna be out a guard. Batonio's gonna be out for this. It looks like
Mhm.
so. Um, and he's the bright spot. You're like, oh man, Dewan Jones looks like a liability. He's 61st in pass block grade right now. He's terrible as a run blocker. He's dead last there. It's like, oh well, Batonio's played well. Oh, he's out.
Out.
And then you've got Parsons who's ramping up. He saw 30 snaps in week 1. He was at 47 last week, which is the most among Packers edges. Obviously, he's a superstar, but they're getting rush from the inside as well. Their coverage looks really awesome. And so yeah, I mean their 2 D tackles are both ranking well as pass rushers. This is just kind of an insane defense to have to go up against. If you're like the Browns at full strength, and they're not at full strength.
Yeah, with Parsons on the field this season, and keep in context, like they faced Jared Goff and the Lions in week 1 and
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels and the Commanders in week 2, like not exactly like pushover offenses either. But with Parsons on the field, passers have completed 58.8% of their passes, 4.5 yards per pass
Mm,
attempt, and a 68.4 rating. Like, it's just, and now they get Joe Flacco and the Browns. Like, it
Yeah,
just
man.
feels like such a spot where it's gonna be just, trying to ski uphill for the Browns. Like, it's just like, it's just real tough, right? Like, it's really hard to have any promise for any of these guys, right? Like, you could say, like, yeah, hey, Fannin and Njoku, maybe the little bit they've been giving up to Packers, that is, it's the tight ends. And if you want to play those guys for some volume plays, you still can for some floor, especially at the tight end position. But like, is there any touchdown equity to be had this week for anyone here? And it's just really hard to talk yourself into like an upside play for one of the Browns. Fannin actually has some like positive splits that like extend for that, because the Packers do play like so much zone under Jeff Hafley. He does have a team high 25% target rate per out run against zone coverage. So if you are still going back to him at like a cheapie on DraftKings, or you're just playing him in like the tight end premium stuff, like, I still think he can get by for as a floor play.
Yeah, I think Fannin is a decent play. He's got 6.3 ADOT and a 5.6 ADOT in his first two games. He's going to get more of those underneath targets. They move him around the formation, kind of like more quick hitting stuff. He's been at 65% route participation in both games, so you do need that high targets per route run to come through, which he's had so far. He's had a 22% targets per route run, and Joku's at just 13%. So you are getting that, but you need it. He can't just like be out there as like a normal player. He has to be someone that they're like clearly looking to prioritize. It makes a lot of sense for them to do that. And so I think he's in play as kind of that GP or late. I would even say like a low end tight end one in redraft, where you might not have a better option. Maybe you can pick up Luke Musgrave, but
We keep losing dudes. We keep losing tight
yeah.
ends.
Yeah. Tight ends always deep in the summer, and then immediately it's like, well, there's four guys, and
Yeah.
somehow I'm not sure Bowers is one of them until he's healthy.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's
we
like
keep
Tyler
losing
Warren
guys.
and McBride.
And and
Um,
the guys like people were counting on, like Evan Ingram and TJ
oh
Hawkinson, just
God,
like they're like they've been non-existent so far.
yeah, Evan Ingram is just. I mean, I know he's dealing with a back injury, but it's just like not a thing. Like
Yeah,
that.
he's just not a part of the offense at this point right now. But
Yeah,
it's rough out there. At least we got our one true king, Juwan Johnson, on the board.
we do, man.
What do you
He's
do?
second in route participation.
Oh, I mean, and like, so historically, like whatever tight ends just led the league in routes run, even if they're not talented, like, because we've had some over like last year, Bowers was also a good talented player, led the league in routes run. So if you get that marriage, but like there was a year Evan Ingram led the league in routes run at tight end, and that was his best year's fantasy, right? We had a TJ
Yeah.
Hawkinson year, the year he got traded from Detroit to Minnesota. From that
Oh
point
yeah,
on,
yeah, yeah.
and it's like you can even have a lesser talent, but if you're just a tight end and you're running that many routes, odds are you're going to be viable for fantasy.
Like Austin Hooper ran a bunch of routes
Yes,
in
for the Falcons.
Atlanta. Yeah, yeah. And it's like, and then Hayden Hurst came into that role and was worse, but like still kind of usable.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So if you're just out there running that many routes as Juwan Johnson's getting, like, there's no reason to really overthink it.
100%, 100%.
What about the Browns
The
backfield, big picture? 'Cause just people might be curious to hear, like, your take on, Judkins being on the field, Sampson still kind of being boxed out by Jerome Ford for right now. Like, how are you thinking big picture about the Browns backfield?
my take has always been that they drafted Judkins in the second round because they want him to be their clear lead runner, and that they end up getting Sampson in the third, right, or the fourth, and
Yeah, fourth.
fourth, and so he's more of like like a solid value pick there, and looking like he's going to be used more as the receiving back at some point. Um, but Judkins was like, I think, a core piece of their identity this year. Like that's the they want to be able to run the ball, and he is like, I think, a pretty talented runner. I have a bunch of him in best ball, which was obviously kind of scary, but once he got super cheap, I was like, what? Like, what am I doing? I'm taking like Jaden Blue over this guy. Just give me Judkins. So yeah, I think Judkins is going to take control of this backfield and be like the clear lead back here.
Are
He ran
are
well in
you
his first game. This is obviously a hellish matchup.
What are you doing with Sampson if you have him in redraft? Obviously, you had kind of maybe the fortunate run in week one where like he kind of had like the PPR scam a little bit because he only ran 15 routes. And then he gets the late touchdown last week. So some gamers probably started him. They're like, well, I'll get one more week out of him
Right.
before Judkins does stuff. And you do get the late touchdown, at least gave you something to latch onto where there were points. But I mean, is he a hold? Like, are you like, especially in like these shorter bench leagues? Like, what are you doing with him?
I think he's a hold. I mean, his receiving stuff has been his efficiency. He's still at 3.08 yards per route run. It's a small sample, but like
Right.
he's been fun when he's out there. Um, it's a team that like will be looking for playmakers as the season goes on. This isn't like some playoff team where they like at some point they're gonna, hey, what do we have here in Samson? So I think he's a hold, and you have contingent value to an extent. It would be a split with him and Ford as we saw in week 1, but uh, that split could favor him if like Judkins goes down in week 6 or something. Maybe at that point Samson takes on a bigger role. So yeah, I think he's like a satellite back spot starter, contingent
Mhm.
value hold guy, or like something like the main event. Like, yeah, like clear hold with shallower benches, it gets a little tighter, but someone I'd be trying to hang on to if I could. If I had, it was like him versus like like I was going to say Scatterbill. That's extremely obvious, but like a Bayshall Tootin or something, like give me Tootin all day.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
if those in like the main event, that's not the decision.
No. Yeah. 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 No. No. We're trying to hold out all those running backs. Hang on to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Um, on the Packers side, we're going to be without Tucker Kraft. It looks like the reporting on that's been kind of all over the place. Hard to figure out, but it probably Musgrave here. I wrote it up as Kraft was playing when I wrote this because the knee injury was reportedly minor at the time.
They're always
But I did note
cautious
that,
historically. The Packers have historically been cautious with player injuries too, and they're 7.5-point favorites. I would assume that they're
yeah,
not gonna.
yeah. I would like when I wrote up Kraft though. He has a 14 yards per target. So a lot of what he was crushing as a yak player
Mhm.
against the Commanders. He had 74 yards after catch with a 20.7 yards per target last week. His role in the offense isn't like super, super strong. It's good, but it's not super, super strong. So
Well, no one's is,
like
right? Like, as a pass
no
catcher?
one's is. Yeah, like
This
there's
is what
no
they
full-time
do.
wide receivers. Uh, Last year, Romeo Dobbs was at least running all the routes. He's at 75% route participation now. Golden's at 63. Wicks was at 63 last week, 65 last week, but same difference. And they were like prioritizing Wicks as the target guy last last week. I don't know. It's probably Josh
Well, a lot
Jacobs, right?
of
Just play Josh
yeah.
Jacobs.
Well, that's what I think makes this matchup kind of curious if you're trying to do something from the Packers side, because the Packers historically have always been a team that are tough to play, like from a DFS stance, because you can't stack Jordan Love because they just play all the dudes. It's like Josh Allen, like it's like always trying to stack Josh Allen, right? Like there are
Yeah,
spots like you want to do it but you're like, well, I don't know if Coleman's gonna score a touchdown, or Shakir's gonna score a touchdown, or Elijah Moore is gonna get involved. Like that's how Love's always been. Like we know Dobbs is like a touchdown or bust guy, even when he's playing all the snaps because they trust him in the run game. Jaden Reed would come in and like be an explosive guy, but like he's never playing in 1 to 2 wide receiver sets, and you worry about him getting game scripted out of the game. But now we're removing Jaden Reed and we're potentially moving Tucker Kraft. Is there anything here with like this getting kind of pushed in against the Browns defense? Because that's what I think this matchup particularly makes interesting, is because the Browns' run defense has been so amazing to start the year. Like they pushed the Ravens out to give up on the run. The Ravens were like, screw
yeah,
this. They were like,
yeah.
screw this. We're not even trying. Matt LaFleur's like never really done that. Like they've been kind of like, hey, we know Josh Jacobs is only getting 2.5 yards per carry, but we're going to keep doing this because this is what we
Hmm.
do. But I wonder if the Browns' run defense is just like that. Like Mason Graham has been so incredible these opening 2 games. And if like anytime they push just the Ravens to say like we're not even going to try to run anymore, like could this be more of an uptick passing game? Because the one other thing about it is if it is a more of a passing script for the Packers and maybe the implied line leads due to the matchup, the Browns play aggressive and they play a lot of man coverage, which is historically like in the Shanahan system, like this is what they want you to do. Like we're going to exploit that. That's what they did to Dan Quinn on Thursday night. Jordan Love's the second highest blitz quarterback in the NFL this year. I think you and I talked about this last week. The Lions blitzed his face off in week 1,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they didn't throw. It's like he faced the second highest blitz rate. Only Daniel Jones has faced a higher blitz rate. And against the blitz, he's 16 to 23, just under 12 yards per pass attempt with 3 touchdowns. All of his passing touchdowns this season have come against man coverage, and it's like, man, if we get more of a condensed target tree, maybe they have to throw more just because the Browns' run defense maybe is this legit. Like, could this be a spot now we could attack maybe with like an Dontavian Wicks or get the Matthew Golden flop lag here finally?
Maybe, but I think the one thing with the Browns, right? Obviously, they've got the pass rush, so they don't blitz. It's not like they're 27th in blitz rate. So I think this could be, they might have the formula to deal with Love, where they can actually get to him with 4, and their coverage has been okay. And I think Love will be fine here, but it could be a matchup where the Packers aren't just doing that well on offense, because this defense is really good at stopping the run, as you laid out, but they also have an awesome pass rush, and then they're down Kraft. The Golden connection isn't there yet. I think Golden is kind of a tricky bet here. I mean, he had a 41 A dot last
I mean,
week.
yeah,
He only
he had
had 2
the
targets.
2 plays left on the field last week.
Yeah, I know. I mean, right, it could have been awesome, but like, he's not running all the routes. 68% route participation last week was up from 57% in week 1. His targets per out run is just not impressive right now at 11%. Dontavian Wicks comes in and he has a 26% targets per out run. So just like,
Yeah, he's their man coverage guy. He like always has been too. For like, this is 3 years running where, because everyone talks about the 1 year where he dropped the passes last year, but he still, like, you don't have a chance to drop passes if they don't throw you the football. And like,
that's true.
he's been
Gets open.
he's been a consistent target earner all 3 years. He's been targeted for his career on 33% of his routes against man coverage. Like, he gets open. And he hasn't dropped a pass yet this year. He didn't drop any. He only dropped 2 of 58 targets as a rookie. Like, what if he just doesn't drop passes again? I know it's a joke because we had that sample. Like, he recovered that onside kick on Thursday, and every tweet was like, Tavian Wicks is on the hands team. Like, oh, like, it's like, well, yeah, like like he had 1 bad year at drops. Like, are we gonna penalize this dude? Like, and again, you don't get to drop passes unless you get thrown to.
No, I agree. Like, I would, if you made me play Golden or Wicks, I would play Wicks. I do think he's a better play than Matthew Golden right now. You're getting like the same routes, and he actually got targeted. Golden
And the
just has
floor,
not
the
been
floor is
targeted.
better. Yeah, the floor is probably a lot better.
It's way better. It's way better. As not someone I'm looking to play, but yeah, that is what I would do.
Yeah, this is gonna be a total game where like Jacobs has like 21 carries for 59 yards and someone has 3 touchdowns.
100%, 100%. Just settle in. This one's not. When we talk about football being better, we don't mean this game. Let's go to the Colts at Titans. Daniel Jones, man, he's been good now for 2 straight weeks. Through 2 weeks, Daniel Jones has the highest success rate of any quarterback. Just like we all thought it would play out.
I mean, I'm in, by the way. Like, I've seen a lot of stuff like people saying that this is going to be Derek Carr from last year. I don't think so. Well, first of all, the Derek Carr stuff, like, all the Saints died last year. Like, they all got hurt.
Right.
So, like, factor that in as well. But I just think proof of what we have from Shane Steichen, like, over the course of his career, what he did for a young Justin Herbert when he was at the Chargers, what he did with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, and what he's tried to do in Indianapolis, like, I just still want to just buy in, because if you're going to hold Daniel Jones's hand, like, this is the spot to do it. Like, we seen Brian Daboll 2 years ago do this with Daniel Jones, and that was like throwing to like Ricky James and Isaiah Hodgins. Like, now when you look at the Colts, like, the offensive line's not nearly as good as it was 3 years ago, but it's still solid. You've got Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Adai Mitchell, and Tyler Warren, and you have Jonathan Taylor. Like,
Yeah.
to me, like, I don't want to overthink this though either. Like, I think it's a good spot for a quarterback. He's in the good hands of a good coordinator. And the thing that just killed Anthony Richardson was he couldn't hit the freebies that were like Steichen was giving him. Like, he got no layups. He was botching the layups, and that's what I think frustrated Steichen. That's why I don't think he ever really had a chance to win the job, is because Steichen never believed he was going to take what was structurally there. Daniel Jones is never going to make a 65-yard throw off his back foot to Alec Pierce like Anthony Richardson could 3 or 4 times a year. But we care about keeping the offense moving and playing ahead of the
Yeah.
sticks. And like, that's why Daniel Jones won this job and why it probably wasn't a competition. He's been incredible under pressure. He's been incredible getting his face blitzed off, and he's been awesome without no pressure, which is like the sticky stuff, right? It's like, how are you operating when there's no pressure? And from a clean pocket through 2 weeks, he's 33 of 43 passing, 10 yards per pass attempt. That's third in the NFL, 2 passing touchdowns. Granted, we probably won't get a 1-yard rushing touchdown every week, but
Right.
I'm buying him as kind of an immediate guy you just ride the wave with, and he's probably going to be, I think, at least what like last year Bo Nix was, right? Like
That's fair.
I think there's floor here, and then you take advantage of some matchups and have some ceilings. But I think very much like a 1-to-1 where I'm treating him is kind of where we were with Bo Nix the back half last year.
Yeah, I mean, so the way I wrote it up in the walkthrough, I was like, after week 1, I was like, play somebody, dude. I'm not convinced, but he did. He
did.
just played. Now, maybe they shouldn't have won that game because of that stupid penalty, but they did. They just beat the Broncos. He's and like the way Daniel Jones is succeeding is how he keeps this job. This is exactly what Steichen was hoping for with the high success rate stuff. You look at his first read attempts. He's throwing a first read on 68% of his dropbacks, which he's out there trying to execute the system. He's completing his first reads. He has a first read completion on 52% of his dropbacks, which is very high. So he is doing the Shane Steichen offense. They're running play action at a super high rate. It's all like Steichen's got to be so happy right now. This is exactly what he was hoping someone could come in and do. The one thing I would say with this team is that part of the Shane Steichen experience. I'm going to try to share this chart here that I have. Let me pull this up. Yeah. Okay. So if you're on YouTube, you can check this out. This is a chart that shows pass rate and expected pass rate. So the teams over here on the bottom left they have low pass rates and low expected pass rates. These are kind of dictating the run teams. The Colts and the Eagles are overlapping, which is exactly where Shane Steichen wants to be. He wants to be, playing like his old team where they get to dictate the run, and he doesn't have to like lean on Daniel Jones for a ton of passing. It's just really efficient. He's executing what he's being asked to do, and what he's being asked to do is very well designed. But I think this could be a game where they really lean on Jonathan Taylor, and Taylor has a big game here. He was like in cover boy consideration for me because I think the Titans run defense kind of has a reputation from a couple years ago. Still is like, oh, Titans good against the run. Like, not this year. They're dead last in EPA allowed per rush. And Cam Ward, although I think he'll be probably a little bit better than he has been. He was better in week 2 than week 1. Probably make some strides. But like, it's been really, really rough from an EPA perspective. Ward has had this team in bad situations. Setting up the other offense for success, particularly if you want to be pounding the rock. I think Jonathan Taylor could just go nuts here, and he's run really well this year. He's 3rd in breakaway yards per game, 5th in rush yards over expected. Was looking great against Denver last week. It's a soft matchup here. And I think the Colts just want to lean on him. Like, yeah, they're happy with Jones, but like, why would you test it? You're not going to push it too far. You just take what Daniel Jones has given you, but Jonathan Taylor, I think, is kind of your identity back here.
Yeah, I played a ton of Jonathan Taylor last week. We were talking about him, and unfortunately, I made a rule because I was also into Tyler Warren as a tournament play, and I made a rule to not play Taylor on Warren teams. So the Warren teams had more Breece Hall, and but I did have enough Taylor to where like he definitely came through for me last week. What you like is that he's not going to turn into Christian McCaffrey, but he's on the field now for all these passing plays. And he's with a quarterback now that will actually check it down a few times a game. He's been on the field for 71.8% of the passing plays. That's RB5 on the season. Like, he's not going to turn it. He's not going to catch 70 passes. That's not. But the fact that he was below 2 receptions per game the previous 3 years, like him just being able to catch like a guy that catches you 3 passes a game is a significant improvement. Like, that's a 50% improvement.
It's a big deal.
Like it is he has 77 receiving yards. I know a chunk of them came on that 43-yard play. But again, Jonathan Taylor's also a guy pretty good if you get him in space, like where he could do some things. But the last 3 years, 143 receiving yards, 153 receiving yards, 136 receiving yards the past 3 years. He's going to blow past that this season.
It's kind of like he was in that Nick Chubb role, and now he gets to move into like where Dalvin Cook used to be, or peak Ezekiel Elliott, where you're not like a receiving back,
Right.
but it's not barren. You get enough to where then you add it to the breakaway runs and the touchdown.
Well, I don't
scoring
think we're going to
ability.
see. I don't think we're going to see happen to Jonathan Taylor this year what happened to like Derrick Henry on Sunday. Like,
Right. Yeah,
where if like
he
you
can't
can't
just, like,
run,
yeah. Well, for one thing, Jonathan Taylor, like the numbers, they understate his involvement in the offense, because in week 1 he had
at
that
the
like
fourth
neck
quarter.
thing. Yeah, so he wasn't out there at all. He had a 71% snap share. Last week he was at 93%. He had 78% of the team attempts, up from 45% in week 1. He had a 10% target share in week 1, 6% in week 2. So I don't want to like overstate the involvement as a receiver, but it's
It's
not
something.
nothing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
something.
it's something. And then this is like they're gonna win this game. They're gonna be in enough positive to neutral script where Taylor's gonna get there. They're not gonna get Browns versus Derrick Henry here. That's not happening.
Yes.
Taylor will have, like, this is a really nice setup for him. I think it's like, oh yeah, he'll get fed here. It's solid floor, but there's a huge ceiling here too. We've seen some of these like explosive rushing backs actually have pretty high DFS ceilings in recent seasons. I think he's a really fun play.
Yeah, absolutely, like 100%. So yeah, he's definitely locked in this week again. You just go to him. You brought up Cam Ward. JC Latham's already been ruled out too. So it's just offensive line sound bad. I was looking to see if T'Vondre Sweat was ruled out or not too, because he didn't play last week for the Titans. And if he's out again, just remove him from the defensive line, and Jonathan Taylor is absolutely going to go nuts. I think he had 218 the last time they played. These two teams played. He had 218.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean that's the type of stuff that's on the table here. The Titans, it's not like Ward has been bad, as I mentioned. Statistically, he's got like the lowest success rate. It's actually funny. Daniel Jones has the highest success rate in the league, and Cam Ward has the lowest success rate in the league, around 30%. Daniel Jones is like 57%. I'm just looking at the chart, but actually I'll pull it up now that I have already added it. Yeah, so this is it's a pretty big difference here. Daniel Jones all the way at the top right. Cam Ward is in his own zone here. Like no one else is even close. And that's obviously going to make it hard for them to sustain offense. But Latham out, and then Dan Moore, who's their big tackle addition in free agency, has been awful.
Yeah, he was awful before they added him. Like he was one of those ads, like because when I do the offseason like team needs going to the draft, and like that salary is like, well, this dude's also been like bottom 10 in like every metric the past like 3 years. So cool. I hope this works out for you.
It is not. They're second worst in pass block grade. They're third worst in pass block win rate. They're allowing pressure at the second highest rate. They're allowing quick pressure at the sixth highest rate. They're not really even getting blitzed. And then Ward from a clean pocket is second worst in EPA per drop back. So there's some concerns about the quarterback, even when they do keep him clean. Colts don't have like a great pass rush, but this is such a bad offensive line. It might not matter. It might not matter. Yeah. You can do anything. You can probably get pressure here. So yeah, it sets up as a game the Colts should really control. You're almost hoping that the Titans show a little life to keep, so they don't pull Taylor. Ward has been a little bit fun at times. He has his moments. He's not worse than EPA. Joe Flacco's worse, and he's about the same as JJ McCarthy. It's just the success rate's so bad, but he does pop up. We've seen the highlights.
Our guy Ryan McChrystal, our prospect guy, his comparison for Cam Ward coming out was early career Josh Allen out of Wyoming.
Yeah,
he was like, this is a guy that coming into the NFL is just going to be so reliant on his arrogant arm strength. Like he plays the game with like arrogant arm strength until he learns to play quarterback. is like he'll make fun plays. Remember, like, we used to do Josh Allen, sugar high Josh Allen. Like he would do some crazy shit. You'd be like, what was that? Like early career Josh Allen, you do some shit. You'd be like, what was that, man? Like because he was so much better than like the competition he played against, and he had so much, his arm strength was so good. But then we learned the nuances of like not taking sacks and like playing the actual quarterback position. He's manifested, and it doesn't always work out for everyone, like the Josh Allen way. But that comparison was, I thought, pretty apt considering what we've seen like the first 2 games from Cam Ward. Like, because like that touchdown he threw to Iomanor, it's just like, that's the shit. Like, dude threw that thing 75 yards in the air. It was a 10-yard pass, vertical, but like
broke a
70
bunch
yards
of rules about what you
like,
do.
Yeah, that's the stuff, man. That's the stuff he'll do. And right now, he's not taking any free squares. He has a 4% target rate to running backs right now, by far the lowest in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, if we want to do some excuse making for Cam Ward, so he has a first read attempt on 57% of his throws. His ADOT is 8.8, which is pretty deep. And so this is like the offense, I think. Like he's in an offense that is aggressive, which is kind of fun, I guess. I think it's a little strange because their offensive line sucks. Like, I'm surprised they're not doing like more gimme stuff, but he's doing like he's executing the play on at a high rate. And so, what else is he supposed to do? Maybe the offense just isn't that good, but yeah, it's going to be pretty inconsistent at the quarterback position. I think Tony Pollard is someone that I'm kind of like making excuses for more than Ward, where like he's at 45% success rate. That's pretty good. He's running back 20 in rush yards over expected per game. Given the state of the offense, that's pretty good. I think Pollard, still like he honestly is like kind of doing better than last year relative to the quality of the passing game that he's attached to. But it's like a little hard for me to get that excited this week. He gets a decent matchup here, but it's more like I think at some point Pollard will kind of reward those who keep the faith. I'm not sure if this is the week or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's just right now without the receiving stuff, with Cam Ward not throwing to any running backs, like you're just so tethered to him finding the end zone right now.
Totally.
That's the hard thing, because you have this guy that is doing well with the carries he's getting, but he also hasn't had scoring opportunities because the offense isn't creating scoring opportunities, and then he's also not catching any passes.
Yep.
Not the greatest for fantasy football, because he's playing good real football, but also we don't. It doesn't help us to the degree sometimes it doesn't overlap to the degree we wish it did.
We talked a little bit about Warren. I think he's a strong play. Downs had a lot more involvement in week 2. He had a ton of first read stuff, 35% first read target rate. I actually went and looked. So I was like, is he the RPO guy now? It's not. None of his stuff was RPO. He's at 0 RPO targets. And it's not even really like play action stuff where you see with Warren, he gets like these rollouts where it's like, I'm looking at you and I'm either going to throw to you or throw it out of bounds or scramble. So it's like it's kind of like a one read type of play. That wasn't really what was happening. Down stuff looked like very traditional kind of first reads to me. And then Michael Pittman is the one in kind of the RPO role per the charting, which I think helps his floor a little bit. But it was nice to see Down. Like I like Downs. I have a lot of Downs at best ball. So it was nice to see him kind of come back to life last week. At the same time, it complicates the wide receiver pecking order because Pittman's still involved. Downs could kind of fluctuate week to week with the targets. To me, it's kind of Warren is really the only pass catcher in the entire game that I'm that interested in. I mean, Ridley is still the number one, but it's not a very exciting role. We talked about Ward probably struggling here. Imanor only had 68% route participation last week, even though he had the touchdown. That was actually down from week 1 where he was at 82%. So I think he's like a fun stash, but I don't really want to play him yet. Any thoughts on the pass catchers here?
Yeah, I just wonder how much of the last week's dip for Pittman and rise or Downs just had to do with Surtain. Patrick, him just getting Patrick Surtain. I think because we expected Pittman to not really be involved, and I think this is also the week when we get there. This will probably be the reality check for Quentin Johnston as well. He's going to just be kind of sacrificed to Patrick Surtain. I thought it was dope that Tyler Warren won a rep versus Patrick Surtain, though. That was cool. He won a one-on-one rep. Yeah, I was like, because just more proof for Tyler Warren stuff. I didn't need more of it, but it's like, he won a nice little one-on-one, and Daniel Jones put a nice ball on him. So I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, I just wonder if it's going to be the down stuff's always going to go to like matchup stuff when they face good outside defensive teams. That's where downs makes the impact. And then we've also talked up the potential game script for this game as opposed to last week, and it just sets up to be like if they're running Jonathan Taylor ad nauseum, Downs just isn't going to be on the field enough.
They're not in 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
And we just believe it's such a strong signal for a Jonathan Taylor game. But if you get out early, he can, it's all about how you score those early points in these types of games, right? Like,
that's true. Jonathan Taylor tackled at the 7. Josh Downs, quick hitters touchdown.
Because they've been bad to slot receivers, the Titans, the first 2 weeks, they've been really poor to slot receivers. So that you just hope you get it early. Because I think as the game moves on, we'll see less of the 11 personnel stuff.
Let's move to the Bengals at Vikings. The Browning, wow, do you even need Burrow? Yeah, you need Burrow. You need him. The Browning stuff is so fraudulent. They take Jamar Chase, they just pepper him with these targets. The first read stuff on Browning is hilarious. He's attempted a first read throw. It's one game, things can skew in one game for sure, but he attempted a first read throw on 76% of his dropbacks. Like 55 is high. So he's just like, they're like what's the design of this play? Like, cool, I'm doing that. He had a 9% turnover worthy throw rate. Like he's just like, tell me what to do and I'll do it, man. I'm not like, don't confuse me with like a second read. I'm just gonna do the first thing. They did not really play action with him. He actually did throw it deep a little bit, but mostly he just peppered Jamar Chase, who saw his ADOT decline from 17.4, which is obviously abnormally high, but it dropped to 7.7. And he had a 36% targets per out run. T. Higgins ADOT was 12.3 week 1, 12.4 week 2. Targets per out run 16%, then 20%. Looks kind of like it's just going to be. I mean, at least last week he was just like, all right, get the ball to Chase, and there's no other second option. Just get the ball to Chase, please. But that's, I don't think, going to hold up super well now that he's facing Brian Flores.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Brian Flores gives you so much stuff after the snap. That's just like we talked about a little bit with like the week 1 Caleb stuff. And, even Penix, when he did throw last week, didn't have like a ton of success. It's just, yeah, I think Browning's gonna have a lot of stuff that surprises him, post snap in this game, and it's really hard to take anything from the 2023 sample from when he stepped in for those 7 games because the offense was so different. It had Tyler Boyd. They weren't using Jamar Chase in the same capacity that they use him now. So I don't know if there's a lot to take from that sample. Plus, like the immediate schedule, like these next 4 weeks for the Bengals is just really bad. I just don't think we're going to get a lot of clarity on like, is Jake Brown like someone that can keep this thing afloat like he did to the degree he did 2 years ago? I don't know. The offensive line's still not good. They're not running the ball at all right now, like with any type of effectiveness.
Well, do you think that changes here? Because the Vikings not good against the run, and teams have run against the Vikings at a pretty high rate so far.
Yeah, this will be kind of the test, right? Like, can they find something, because they didn't run it well in either game so far, but also in the other games that they faced, the opponents that they faced, their second game, the teams didn't run on those teams really either.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe this is a spot where they can I assume they want to try. I would at least assume they want to try and not have Jake Browning drop back 40 times against Brian Flores.
And I think that the Vikings probably want to try. They have Jordan Mason taking the lead back here.
The ghost of Carson Wentz is back, baby.
Carson Wentz might be better than JJ McCarthy. It's possible.
Well, the 2 game sample. I mean, Kevin O'Connell's coaxed some stuff out of Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins. Like, how far off is this current version of Carson Wentz to those guys?
I think he's better. I mean, Nick Mullins is like maybe secretly actually good, but It's like I just throw for a lot of yards, please. He's got some Jameis, but yeah, I mean, Wentz. I think I don't know. At times, Wentz has been so unwatchably bad, but there's been other versions of him that have been like a little bit fun.
He's like
So
Jimmy G in a sense where like if you give him like structure, he's been all right. Like he's had
mhm,
moments, or at least times where
he's
you
had
could say like,
moments.
"Hey, we could stay alive here in structure." Then like again, when Carson Wentz goes on his own, he's like
Yeah,
doing his own thing. It's been horrendous. So maybe with Kevin O'Connell, there's some structure here. This is gonna be an interesting. It's gonna be interesting because they've run the fewest plays in the NFL by far through 2 games. And just how much of that was JJ McCarthy's influence on the offense. We obviously don't have Aaron Jones here either. So we know they probably want to run Jordan Mason. The word has been like they want to give him a workhorse role. Obviously, the backups are terrible too because Ty Chandler's on IR. So like the backup situation is
Akers
a
again.
nightmare. Yeah. So we have a spot where Jordan Mason's going to be immensely popular in DFS this weekend, just by proxy of
100%.
workload and cost.
Yep.
And how much like can we get a leverage spot out of Justin Jefferson here? Like, what does this do for Justin Jefferson? Because he hasn't run any routes because of the play volume. If I'm Carson Wentz, I'm like, this might be my last go. I don't know how many more games I'm starting in the NFL. I got Justin Jefferson. Like, I might try to like cook some stuff up. Like, and I wonder if just Cam Taylor Britt's not going to play in this game for the Bengals. He's got a hamstring injury. So it's like, man, is this like an immense leverage spot for Justin Jefferson? He's not cheap though. It's not cheap
It's
leverage,
not. Yeah, it's
but
not
and
cheap. And
if
I
it
think not
fails,
having
you're
Burrow
in a bad
hurts.
spot.
Yeah, you
Yes,
are.
that's a great point about just be like if your Burrow's here, you feel better about it.
You feel way better. Yeah, like the thing that would worry me is, their pass rates and Kevin O'Connell's been pretty consistent where he has a lean to the pass, but in week 1 they had a lean to the run, only passing 52% of the time. Then last week they were a little ahead of expected, but they were at 64% on a 63% expected pass rate. That's a little concerning in a game where um, both teams might want to run. And so, like, are we looking at another kind of mid 60s or even lower pass rate? The positive thing would be this is the EPA chart again, JJ McCarthy here. This is like very, very bad and pretty easy to improve on. So like there's a
Yeah,
low
that's
bar
what I was
here.
wondering how Kevin O'Connell approaches this. Does he feel like because the way he called the first 2 games are kind of different than he's ever really called games? And that's like, how does he feel? How has Wentz looked in practice? How confident is he to maybe do something similar to things he's done in the past?
Yeah.
Or he doesn't, and it's just like we're just trying to hope Browning makes some mistakes. We pound Jordan Mason, we get the fuck out of here.
Well, so Davis was making the point on the pod earlier that I did with him where he's like, you don't got to protect Carson Wentz. And we've seen, with Mullins that they're just kind of like they'll chuck it. So that's
But
where
they also got pushed. Like the Mullins games came against like the
they got
Lions.
pushed. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's where the Burrow thing is I think Wentz could be ultimately pretty fun for Jefferson. I'm not sure it happens this week because of Jake Browning being on the other side of this game,
Yeah, that's the
which is
bummer.
that's the bummer.
I
Um,
mean, but yeah, I'm with you. Outside of Jordan Mason, though, I ended up not really having anyone in my pool, even with the Chase stuff and the first read stuff he had last week. I think it's just hard with the context of
yeah,
the receiver on the slate that I don't. If I get shadow run by Chase, I do, but I don't think at his cost he's gonna make because there's just so many good receivers on the slate.
I agree. And he's obviously very expensive too. But if
Right.
you have Chase in redraft and stuff, he's locked in.
I mean, you got to play him, but we have done this
Yeah,
before. Like we did it with CD last year when Dak got hurt. We actually did it with Chase 2 years ago when Browning came in. But guys like Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore, that stretch where Tyson Bagent had to come in. Like it's still, it's still like we have to expect fragility even for a player like Jamar Chase. And like redraft, you're in bed. Like
yeah,
we're
you're playing him
but DFS, you have a little more
for
leniency. I
sure.
don't know, like if what would be the price point for you to move off of Chase for an offer if someone was like trying to buy?
I mean, I'd sort.
If I offer you, say I give you Zay Flowers and a running back, are you still like hell no?
What's the running back?
Well, it would have to be like someone in like an RB2 range for it to even be like a palatable offer,
I'm
right?
probably like a no there. I'm
So it's so
Breece Hall filled enough that maybe I would take Hall um
what if
and
you have
Flowers.
Jamar
I'm okay with
Chase
do that,
and
but probably not.
what if you have Jamar Chase and have a need at running back, and someone in your league has, say, like an underachieving wide receiver one and a running back that you have your eye on?
Like a
Would you
Brian
do like,
Thomas.
I was gonna say, like, would you do like Chase for Brian Thomas Jr. and one of those like RB2E type guys for Chase?
It would depend a lot on the RB2 type of guy. Like that, like who are we talking about?
Let's see,
Is
maybe
it
we could throw
like
some guys out there. Uh, what if
if
it's
it's like
like
Jalen Warren, I think no.
no? What if
You
it's like,
know,
guys like, well, we had Pollard. Pollard still be a no.
he would be a no. Yeah.
So it'd have to be up in like the Kamara, Kyron Williams area,
Yeah, it'd have to be something where I feel like I'm like getting something
and
I can't
you probably
replace
don't get
later.
that offer, yeah,
Yeah.
and you
I
probably don't
think
get that.
I don't maybe I'm
What
just
about an underachieving? What if it's Amari and Hampton? Are you taking the double bullet?
yeah. That I actually might do. I think Hampton is gonna be fine. I think it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
I do too. So yeah, so if you
Genty, if
offer
you could do like a Genty Thomas, just get the old 1-2 turn someone had. They're like, hey,
the
let's
old one
trade.
two
I'll
turn,
take your 101 for my bad 1-2 turn. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I do that.
Yeah, because I don't think he's
That's
like a
probably
clear sell, but I was just wondering, like, just running the gambit of like, could you use this initial things? We have like this run where they go, what is it? Vikings, Packers, Lions. Is it Vikings, Packers? They 3 of the 4 are on the road too. Yeah, it's Vikings, Broncos, Lions, Packers, 3 of them on the road. And if Chase turns in a bunch of like 65-yard games, then you can't move him after that. Right
yeah,
now,
yeah, that's
you
true.
still probably can. And it's like, so, and I'm not saying you just do this because he's your 101. He's coming off of a good game. He just caught 10 balls from Browning. He could easily PPR scam his way to some production. But I was just kind of picking your brain of like, maybe if some gamers were thinking about it, what would be the outcomes?
Yeah,
Where
no,
would the line be?
I think trading for yeah, I would do like an underperformer like a Brian Thomas. Um and yeah,
Like
a running
Hampton.
back with upside. A Hampton. Yeah,
That's what it
someone
is.
that like
Yeah.
yeah, don't give me like I'm not taking like James Conner or Chuba or Warren. Like give
Brees
me
Hall. Are you still in Brees Hall?
I'm still I'm still in a Brees. I would
Yeah.
do
All
Brees
right.
Hall and Brian Thomas
Okay.
for Jamar Chase. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, yeah,
Um
it's something to think about. See,
it is.
fun to talk about those things.
Let me see. So we've
I was
got
in a league that actually had Emeka Ibuka traded for Justin Jefferson. So like this stuff happens. That's why it's fun to talk about these things. Like because stuff happens in leagues.
when I'm looking for injuries, and obviously Buka popped up, so I was poking around, searching on Twitter, and when with Ibuka, I was just exposed to like a whole world of like boisterous, kind of obnoxiously wrong, you know, casual fantasy takes on Ibuka, where it's like one of them was like, Emeka Ibuka's a top 5 wide receiver rest of season. This is not an exaggeration. Like, it is an exaggeration. It's a wild exaggeration.
This guy that literally doesn't have 100 yards receiving and has a 20% target share in each game, but has 3 touchdowns. He does have the 3 touchdowns.
His profile like is basically identical to Sterling Shepard's through 2 weeks. I like Ibuka. I think he's gonna
And
be
I
good.
do,
But
yeah.
like,
Let's not be
come
the
on.
dunk on, like, yeah, but let's not go
Yeah.
crazy either.
Let's not go crazy, please. Anyway, Steelers at Patriots. This one is a game where the Patriots are probably a little bit better against the run than people think. I think their defensive line improvements have been good. Milton Williams is popping
They spent a lot
in
of
some
money.
metrics. Yeah. And so I think their pass rush is pretty solid, and they're good against the run. The secondary is atrocious, and probably without Christian Gonzalez again. So God, it's always I can't believe I'm here through just 2 weeks, but what if the Steelers are actually willing to attack through the air here? They've kind of been okay, like 65% pass rate week 1, that was 1% below expected, 67% last week, that was 1% above expected. I think DK Metcalf's a little more interesting than he's been. He's got an 8 out of just 5.5. This would probably be like a get right spot for him.
Yeah.
Rodgers has been, his EPA is good. The consistency is concerning, but this is a really nice matchup for, downfield passing production. The pass rush is better than it was for the Patriots, but it's not like super, super formidable. Jalen Warren might see more work here than he has, which would be nice, but I don't think this is a great matchup. I'm, it makes me nervous, but I'm kind of interested in the passing game for the Steelers here.
I mean, it's easy to get there from just the top down stuff. I mean, these are the two teams that have allowed the most explosive pass plays in the NFL through 2 weeks. And we'll see if Christian Gonzalez corrects that whenever he gets back on the field, but they're just giving up explosive stuff to right. The Steelers is easy because they just don't have anybody healthy. Like, they keep losing dudes. Joey Porter Jr. is hurt. He's still not going to play. Deshaun Elliott's hurt. Derek Harmon's hurt. They also lost Alex Highsmith. He went on IR, one of their better pass rushers. Isaiah Loudermilk had a high ankle sprain. He's going to be out. So, like, they've just really lost a bunch of core pieces these first 2 games, where it's easy to kind of talk yourself into it. And it's a great spot, I think, for Drake May again. But the problem is always with Drake May. I think he's a great season-long starter. It's just you don't know who to stack him with. The Patriots had they actually had a weird wide receiver rotation last week. They got Mac Hollins involved. And I don't know if that's because they were going to run the ball more, and they wanted to have Mac Hollins' run blocking involved more. But Mac Hollins weaseled his way into the rotation from week 1 and lowered everyone. So
you know what it was? Diggs went into the slot. He was 55% slot rate, and then Demario Douglas's route participation dropped from 74% to 35%. So they just what they did. Hollins wasn't in a full-time role. He was at 58%, but it's now like. And then Austin Hooper jumped from 17% to 45%. So you had more 12. And now you have a 4th wide receiver who's rotating in. Your slot wide receiver didn't completely go to 0. He went to 0 from a fantasy perspective, but 35% still a decent chunk to steal from other people. Diggs was only at 58% route participation, which was down from 70% in week 1. He had a high targets per route run of 28%, but he just wasn't out there a lot. So it's like literally you have Mac Hollins at 58% route participation, same for Diggs. Douglas is gone, but still a problem for other people. Hooper's not valuable, but he's a problem for Henry, who dropped from 74% to 68% route participation, which is in like kind of the Jatavion Sanders like tight end 2 zone now. And Kayshon Boutte also dropped from 83% to 74%. So not a single wide receiver at 75, not a single receiver at 75% plus route participation last week for the Patriots, because they're rotating in guys. And like, I don't know, do your thing, Josh McDaniels. Like it worked. Like I'm not mad about it.
We expect him to have success. We expect him to have success rushing here. I mean, the Steelers have been like, I just lay out all the guys they have out, and they've been bad against the run both games. Like Kenneth Walker, came out, and Breece Hall torched them in week 1. Now maybe they don't. Their explosive guy could break out here. 2 explosive runners.
They got to play him.
Maybe, yeah. Get him out of the doghouse. But
32% snap share last week. Did you see the thing about Henderson's that play that Stevenson had, that 3rd and 3? That catch?
No. What was it?
Vrabel was on some podcast. The catch was sick. And it was a beautiful throw. But apparently they were having like a bad day of practice, last week, and they ran that play. And Travion Henderson like made an awesome catch and like, exploded downfield, and like everyone got fired up, and it like kind of revived. They're like, and he like, you pointed to it as an example of like the way we practice is going to affect the way we play. But then they were like, and so it's just funny for that to like go to Ramondre. So like both backs like fired us up. I'm like, yeah, it's real funny. It's very, very funny. Like
Henderson had a sick wheel route early in the game, and then just made a couple mistakes that got him off the field. But
yeah,
the fact that they were able to kind of play more 12 and have the run success that they had, a little bit of it, just a little better than week 1. They were able to pivot and do some of the things we talked about that was a hindrance from in week 1. So week 1, they were 30th in pre-snap motion rate. Last week, Drake May goes from 28% to 56.7%, pre-snap motion. And that's just been, again, through 2 games, he's 22 of 27, 82% completion rate, 10.4 yards surpassed him, but 2 touchdowns on those pre-snap motion plays. So it just makes it a little bit easier when they're able to play out of base offense for Drake May. It makes life easier for him. So
their pass rate dropped from their pass rate dropped from 76% to 57% last week, which was 1% under expected. So they were, kind of playing to the script they had. That's where they want to be. They want to be
Yes.
like, they'll be fine in the 60s, but they had to chuck it a bunch. Honestly, it looked a lot. Week 1 reminded me of 2024, and I watched a ton. I'm big fan Drake May, so I watched a ton of the Patriots in 2024, which was not fun. And that's how it was like they just become one dimensional, and May's dropping back, and like he will make mistakes if you just like force him
Yeah.
to constantly throw. He's much better in this type of where he can kind of front run a little bit and use his legs and play action and be part of kind of a more balanced attack. That's what they're going to try to do here, because as you point out, the injuries on the Steelers side and the run defense, they're 28th in EPL out per rush, 28th in rushing DVOA. This is a pretty good matchup. It's going to be Stevenson, though. I think he
Yeah.
had
He looked good
65%
too.
snap shares in both games. He looked good.
The bummer about the Travion in that split is like I always thought like Stevenson was like decent, like good. Like there's some of these other splits like the Hampton Najee. It's like, well, Najee's never really shown us he's a good player, and like Stevenson, I was like, man, I think he's better than his environment the past 2 years, and I think that these guys will help each other. It's just that Henderson's got to not make the mistakes he made last week. I think he'll get back on the field though. Like
I do too. Yeah, he'll be fine. But like my thing, I have a ton of Henderson when he was going at the 5-6 turn. I don't really have that much Henderson. I have some main events,
3.
It's fun. But I wasn't in best ball. I was not taking a ton of them there, and I actually was taking a ton of Stevenson. So I thought this last week, after Stevenson had a bad week 1, I thought they might kind of hand it over to Henderson quickly. But my preseason read was that it would be kind of Stevenson for a while, and he bought himself at least a week, probably a month with that performance last week against Miami. So I think they lean on him here. He's like a solid, he's someone you're happy to have in a redraft. He's kind of a high end RB3. Probably need him to score a touchdown. But not someone I'm like looking to play in DFS, but I think he'll be the lead back here.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's what this game could hit like on the surface, because both defenses have been so bad. You're like, oh, this game could be fun, but it's just like hard to get to a piece outside of DK Metcalf to like make like a core argument for.
It's like Metcalf and Drake May mini. That's how I think I'd play it in DFS.
Yep.
I just like, I don't even know if I'd want to stack him with Rodgers. I'd play him with the other quarterback.
Yeah, and that's it. I actually
crazy,
do think though, if you are in like a redraft league and you got boxed out at quarterback, or you had Burrow and lost him or something, like I do think he's a fine streamer this week. Like
Rodgers,
QB2 streamer. Yeah, because I mean, both guys that they gave up points to, the Patriots that is, are already the QB2 streamer types, right? Like Tua and Geno. Like that's where Rodgers fits in, right?
Yeah. No, Rodgers, I think, is like a totally. I've got him 19th in the rankings right now, and it might.
I have him 18. So I have him 18. So it's like right in. And I do think it's a decent streaming week too, for even the amount of injuries we had. There's some good QB matchups out here.
Yeah.
Because we have like Darnold, who we didn't get to, is in a good spot. Like, that you probably haven't played Darnold for 2 weeks, but this week you might actually talk yourself into playing him. We have Mariota on the board now too.
Yeah. Mariota, I probably need to move him up. He's going to run more than some of these other guys. But yeah, I think Rodgers is set up pretty well. I mean, it's one of those games you could just see him like, I can just see him kind of running around and throwing for 3-4 touchdowns and being like, God damn it, like you needed Rodgers this week. What's going on?
But even like week 1, you've seen it. Even you have the 4 touchdown Rodger game. Like you can't bring any. It's hard to bring someone along for that ride because they just incorporate so many guys.
Can I interest you in Darnell Washington? Can we stack?
Yes.
Ben Skowronek maybe gets in the end zone again. All right, let's go to Rams Eagles. This is a game where I think the Eagles pass rush could be a problem for the Rams offensive line, but kind of like in week 1 where they play the Texans and Stafford, they got to Stafford and he was not efficient, but like when Stafford threw the ball, it was awesome. It's just like there were a lot of times where it wasn't awesome and he was getting taken down. But I have interest in Puka Nacua here and interest in Devontae Adams.
Always.
I don't think both will probably have big games together. It's not that type of game environment, but both guys' roles are just insane right now.
Yeah, they're both top 5 in target rate per route run. Listen, McVay understands the assignment. Like, he's got our best interests at heart. Like, because even though you might not like Kyren Williams, he's always still had our fantasy best interests at heart with Kyren Williams. Say, hey, what if I just gave your guy the ball a bunch and he gets to score touchdowns? It's like, cool, man. That's what we want. What if I just got the ball to my only 2 good receivers? Yes, man. That's really exactly what we want. And I love that. I love what he's doing this year. Especially like, I love what he's doing to like counter the current defensive meta and insulate his offensive line. I mean, right now, Matthew Stafford through 2 weeks, he's been under center for 65% of his dropbacks, by far the highest rate in the league. League rate is 29.9%. His previous career high in a season, Matthew Stafford, is 47% snaps under center, and that was in 2019. And what playing under center
What'd you
allows
say he's at this year? 65?
65%, yes.
Damn.
Of his dropbacks. And what playing under center allows you to do is do all that dressing in pre-snap. Like, you get to run motion and you get to run play action. And this is how you make your bad offensive line look better. So on just isolating the under center snaps, the Rams have run pre-snap motion 71% of those snaps and play action 77% of the time. Using pre-snap motion, Stafford's 33 of 39. Using play action, he's 21 of 26 with 11 yards per pass attempt. Now, when he uses both on the same play, he's 18 of 20 for 11 yards per pass attempt and 2 of his touchdowns. So I just love structurally the position Sean McVay is putting him in to be efficient. He doesn't run, so he's hard for fantasy. He did have 19 fantasy points in this matchup in both matchups. So and that was a better version of the Eagles defense, I think, is right now, even though they're still very good, but they lost a lot of pieces. So he's another guy that's probably maybe undervalued as like a QB2 streamer type, hard to get to in DFS because you don't get the rushing. Like, he has to throw 3 passing touchdowns for you to hit. And it's just tough to bet on that type of archetype, but that trickles down to everything I just laid out, the Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams stuff.
Clean pocket, EPA per dropback, Rams are the number 1 team in the league. If they keep Stafford clean, it's clicking right now. But they're not keeping him clean very often. They're 26th in preventing pressure, and they're 3rd worst in allowing quick pressure. So it's just I think it's gonna be like a very kind of like fits and starts type of game. They're just punted for the 3rd time in a row, but then also Puka has some sick play or Adams goes off. Because the roles are just crazy. Like, Devontae Adams has a 34% target share and is also like clearly the number 2.
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it'd be cool if Davis Allen stopped scoring touchdowns. But again, McVay just understands that. It's just very easy. The Rams are just a very easy team to diagnose when we love that. Like, it's just like we can count on it.
Where are you at on Kyren Williams? Because he did lose the touchdown to Corum last week. But when I was looking at the numbers, I was still like, hey, 82% snap share in week 1, 70% last week, 68% of the attempts last week. That's down from 72%, but still really high. He's running back 4 in team carry share through 2 weeks, running back 8 in snap share. The efficiency sucks. It's always kind of sucked as a receiver, but the rushing efficiency is not so great. But 41% success rate is actually okay. And that's kind of the Kyren thing. He just kind of chugs along. And I don't know. It doesn't look to me like he's like ceding a ton of work to Corum here. It's still pretty much the status quo, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, McVay had the quote afterwards, and he said his quote was in much more alignment with how he wants things to look. But the question is, how does that look when it's outside of kind of one-sided game scripts? Because in the first half, Williams outtouched Corum 7-1, and he outtouched him 12-2 through 3 quarters. So I kind of also, like you, my takeaway, at least for this one sample, was there's not much here to fret about until it starts to build up. But that's really kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think he's like a high-end RB2 for fantasy right now.
You always need the touchdowns with them because the efficiency and the receiving are just never there. But the Rams are also always one of these teams, though, when they get inside the 10, like, they like to run the football.
They do. Although Adams has given them a little bit more.
Yeah, he's got the touchdown stuff.
Yeah.
Juice. And he's always had that.
Right.
That was why I was really bullish on him this year, because last year Demarcus Robinson had 12 end zone targets, and I'm like, Jesus, I'm like, if that's just not Demarcus Robinson, like,
yeah.
That's gonna be Devontae Adams now. Cool. Like, all right, yeah. Like, because even if I was like, man, even if Adams like just hits like the age wall and he's not efficient, like I think he's gonna have touchdown opportunities.
He has not hit the age wall as well.
No, and he still just gets open regularly.
Yeah.
He has 5 end zone targets already through 2 games.
That's wild.
Yeah, like we love this. We love this
I know.
stuff.
I don't have enough. I didn't completely fade him. I don't have nearly enough. On the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts is coming off this disappointing game. I thought they would be efficient against the Chiefs. They were not. He had a 37th percentile mark in EPA per play, 23rd percentile in success rate, and then they only passed 46% of the time. So low passing volume,
9
inefficient
tush
passing
pushes.
game. What is that? Yeah.
9 tush pushes. Well, we built the
9
whole
tush
offense out
pushes.
of the tush push.
Right. Well, when you're allowed to go before the snap, I probably would too. You know, that find a play where you can move before the ball snapped, and then run the hell out of it. The Rams defense is really good, so I don't. This is not a bounce back spot. They're great on their pass rush is awesome. The coverage numbers are really good. They're not really blitzing, so you know they're kind of Packers light, you know, where you get the pass rush, really strong coverage, and you don't have to blitz. It's a tough matchup.
Yeah, I think the only wrinkle that if you were trying to have some optimism for the Eagles to potentially outside of just getting pushed and maybe having to throw, because right now they have 3 passing plays of 10 or more yards. 3. The next closest team is 11. Like, isn't
Come
like
on.
they're the first team since 2010 to start 2-0 without a passing touchdown. Like, this is all stuff that just like is not sustainable. Like, this is you can't like this can't be the operation, right? Like,
No.
there's too much talent, right? Like, even if the offensive line isn't quite as good as it's been in years past, you still have AJ Brown, you have DeVonta Smith, you have Saquon Barkley, you have and you have Jalen Hurts. Like, there's just too much talent for this to be the way it is for 15 more games. So if there is an avenue outside of just the Rams pushing them, it's through 2 games. Jalen Hurts has faced 2 high safeties on 67.2% of his dropbacks, the highest rate in the NFL. Right now, no teams run fewer 2 high looks than the Rams. They're at 70.7% single high safety. And in the 2 games these teams played last year, because we have static coordinators for the Rams, is that they ran single high on 64.9% of the dropbacks Hurts had. So maybe that's the avenue here to where we get some more vertical passing, and that could help out our guy Arthur Juan. Because if it's going to help someone, it's definitely Arthur Juan, because against single high look since he joined the Eagles, he's been targeted on 30.4% of his routes. That's 7th in the NFL, and he's at 3.2 yards per out run. That is 3rd in the NFL. The other avenue here is that Akello Witherspoon broke his clavicle last week for the Rams. He's on IR now. With Witherspoon on the field last year in these 2 matchups, AJ Brown only caught 4 of 10 targets for 54 yards. With Witherspoon off the field, he caught all 4 of his targets for 70 yards and a touchdown. The last time we saw Arthur Juan Brown step on a football field with Emmanuel Forbes as a locked-in cornerback, he had 175 yards. I don't think we're getting that, but maybe if we just need Emmanuel Forbes to awaken the beast one more time.
Please awaken the beast. What was the book he was reading last year? Inner Greatness or
Inner Greatness or something.
Inner
Like
Excellence. Yeah, read it. It's time for a reread, AJ.
Dude,
Please.
8 targets last week for 27 yards. He has 7.4 air yards per target.
Come on. It's
Criminal
such a
activity.
boring. Yeah. 0.58 yards per route run so far.
Criminal.
I will say that so week 1, Brown had a 3% targets per route run. He was at 30% last week. DeVonta Smith was at 9% in week 1, 23% last week. So that's where you want, if you're going to be like completely failing, at least be failing with targets. It was especially egregious when they weren't even able to throw to AJ Brown in week 1. So yeah, him waking up here would be awesome. I do worry about volume though in this game, where I think the Rams could lean on the run. They're going to have issues protecting Stafford. We're going to see drives stall out, kind of punts, game slowing down that way. And then the Rams, not so great against the run. Teams have a -6% passer over expected against them, which, it's only 2 matchups. That might not mean much, but we know that the Eagles do want to run. And this is not a matchup that's going to push them off that. So Barkley, this, want to talk about someone coming to life. Barkley has not, he's running back 30 in rush yards over expected per game. He's running back 24 in breakaway yards per game, but he has a 47% success rate, which is awesome. It's running back 11, but like over the course of the year, that would be running back 1 probably. And that, I think what that tells you, right, is like they're still turning out positive gains with Saquon Barkley. If that keeps happening, he's going to start breaking big runs again. Maybe not quite like last year,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's going to happen. So this is a spot, I think, kind of like JT, where you could just see easily Barkley kind of coming to life. And it's easier to see with JT, who just did it last week to an extent, but this could be like an eruption game for Barkley.
Well, if you just look at the 2 games that Barkley played last year, you're gonna feel real good
Yeah.
about just putting him in the lineup. So I mean, he had 60 touches against these guys, 30 touches each game against the Rams, 302 yards and 232 yards. Seems pretty good to have 2 games against an
Pretty
opponent
good.
with 500 yards for running back. His four touchdowns against the Rams were 70, 72, 62, and 78. So you do need those to have. You obviously can't have 300 yards off a bunch of 4-yard runs. So. But
Yeah.
But the one thing too is like he's running to a heavy box 50% of the time. It's a 10% higher rate than last year. But while that sounds negative, the other thing is like Adrian Peterson made his career off this is that if you do play heavy boxes and you get to the second level, there's no one there.
You're gone.
Like there's no one there. There's like if that's the one gift and the curse of playing the heavy box against the Eagles is if Saquon gets to the second level, like it's a house call. So you always have that kind of in the back too. Like if they're going to load the box, that also isn't as much as a negative as sometimes people say, because that's how you get explosives.
This is like a super deep cut, but back in the day, I got excited about Bishop Sankey when he was coming out as a rookie, and like probably his like only like legit cool highlight and from college, which should have been a red flag, is that he had like it was probably like 4th and 1, and I don't think I knew the context of the play at the time, but it's like they just completely stack the box. He goes up, he makes one guy miss, and then he like runs for the. So if Bishop Sankey can rip off long touchdowns with stacked box, anybody can. And we saw Barkley do that a ton last year. Like that was kind of the issue with like, okay, we're gonna take Barkley away. It's like, oh, are you? You're stacking the box, but then he makes a dude miss, and now there's no one that can catch him. It's over. He's just running for a really long touchdown. So you kind of last year they had these teams where it's like, okay, well, are you just going to let Barkley like consistently churn out positive gains, or are you going to come down and try to stop those? But then you set yourself up for the huge explosives. So that actually might be cool if they try to do that. I'll take some more inconsistency if you give me the long runs again.
Yeah, this is a game I'll probably stack still, but it would be like a small field, single entry, and then just try to hope that we get those runouts for the big Eagles guys. Because I know the floors for the Rams guys are there.
This is one where like if I'm doing lineups and like Adams makes sense solo, I'm like, cool, or Puka solo. I think to me it's like those 2 pieces. I don't need this game to go nuts. I just need like they can consolidate targets so much they can get in the end zone. And I think like when things are going right for the Rams, it could look awesome. You'll see them on red zone and like think like, oh, Rams, they're going to give the Eagles a game here, and then it's like, no, they lost 24-17. And it was like never really that close. But there were some fun moments. Jets at Buccaneers. Justin Fields is out with a concussion. He's also awful last week. Tyrod Taylor is taking over. What are your thoughts on this game?
Just pain, just misery. This game's good. I mean, yeah, we've got Tyrod stepping in. We've got potentially the Buccaneers missing 4 linemen too, like Michael Jordan.
4 now?
Michael Jordan didn't practice yet, and I was waiting. I haven't seen yet today. He's their left guard. Well, we already know Wirfs is out. They declared him out, and he wasn't going to play anyways. But Luke
Goedecke's
Goedeke's
on injured
out.
reserve.
Yeah, Luke Goedeke's out. He was put on. They put Cody Mock on IR. Yeah, it's just really hard because this Tampa Bay offense, because this would be a spot where you would say like, yeah, home favorite Bucky Irving, right? Like easy, like let's
100%.
pencil it in. And the state of the offensive line just gives you a lot of pause. Also, like the Jets are coming off of a game where they just got waxed. Like probably, it's like, it's always one of these spots where it tends to get overvalued the next week, like when a team just gets destroyed, like because we saw them fight in week 1. So they probably have a little more fight in them this week. I would have been all in on Bucky Irving if it wasn't for all these injuries, but like I just have some pause there. Also, Rashad White like did play well last week in like
and
his
got that
little
touchdown late, which was
yeah.
annoying. And one of those ones where they called a timeout, and then White was on the
Mhm.
field, and then they came back and White was still on the field. It's like, I hate that. That's not good.
Yeah, and I wonder if they reward because Bucky actually caught 3 passes that drive, but White kind of made like that saving play
That
where he
play
recovered
down,
that
yeah.
fumble, and it was like a
We
little
also
bit.
got. I think he was the one who had the run down to the end zone,
Yeah, he
wasn't
did.
he? Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think outside, like, there's just not a lot to love here. I think from like a fantasy stance because the Bucks haven't really been a good offense, even though they've won games. And Baker still has like the high touchdown rate. He's thrown for under 6 yards per pass attempt in both games. They're 23rd in yards per play. They're missing basically their entire offensive line. Mike Evans is going to get shadowed by Sauce Gardner, so maybe that opens up stuff for Ibuka if you want to keep running that out. And then you just have the Garrett Wilson high target share, which you're going to keep plugging away, right? Like you're just gonna keep towing the line.
Yeah, I think I'll say for Mike Evans, he has a 30% target share. He has a 24% targets per route run, which would have tied Drake London. You know, if he kept that up for the season, would have tied the number one first street target rate from last year that Drake London had. 25% targets per route run, very strong. He has a 5.6 yards per target. That's 4%. That not 4%, 4 yards below expected for his 13.8 ADOT. Yards per target, not super sticky. That's something where we do
Yeah.
see that, swing around. We want the targets. The per target efficiency is, you kind of get some positive regression potential here with him running super, super cold with that 5.6 yards per target. So, betting on him just like getting the targets. And then, yes, you are without a ton of offensive linemen, but you're going against a Jets pass rush that's 27th in pressure rate, 25th in quick pressure rate. Not a very imposing pass rush here, and they're okay in coverage, but not amazing. So, yeah, he's getting Gardner, but I still kind of like Evans a little, especially from a
All right.
redraft perspective. I think kind of keeping the faith with not overthinking it. Like I think he's a wide receiver one here. Like I'm plugging him in my lineups. Not my favorite game environment by any means, but I think like the Ibuka hype and the touchdowns and then Evans's poor yards per target. I think people are missing how awesome his role is in this new offense. Uh, Brees Hall is if you want to talk DFS, I think Brees Hall is actually the guy I'm most interested in. Where Mason's going to catch a ton of ownership, rightfully at 5,400 on DraftKings. He's good chalk there. I think he's I'll have him in lineups for
Yeah.
sure. Walker, we might get. I haven't
Yeah, I was
seen.
trying to find something on that, but they're West Coast, so
Yeah, I don't think we have that yet. But if Charbonnet DNP doesn't get into practice today, then it'll be Walker, and with the backfield to himself, he's 5,800 on DraftKings, and then Hall's 6,000. Like he's gonna if we get Walker and Mason, he's gonna be like 1%.
oh, he's gonna
Uh,
be yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
He,
he,
especially after last week, because people like us talk to people who are like, "Oh, you guys told me to play Brees Hall," and then he was
right.
terrible, and
He's terrible.
oh, he's not
I'm
getting
going.
played.
I'm going back if we especially if we get Walker. I think I would probably pivot off Walker and go to Hall for 200 more with just like no ownership. He has a 52% success rate this year, which is awesome as a runner. He's been explosive. He has 2.14 yards per route run. Been explosive as a runner as well. Braylon Allen barely played last week. He had a 19% snap share, 10% of team attempts. Isaiah Davis got used in kind of that garbage time role, but Hall's snap share went up from 58% to 64%. His routes went up from 32% to 45%, held an 11% target share in both games. I think like pretty quickly they're realizing like, oh, one of these guys sucks and one of
Yeah.
these guys is good.
Yes.
And they just got shellacked last week. They've got the backup quarterback in here now. I think we're going to get plenty of Brees. And if the Bucks
And
have
Tyrod's
trouble,
and Tyrod's live. Like it's not like
yeah,
one. He's going to be able to run the offense the way they like it's, and he can throw. He can still throw too. He's viable too if you needed a body. Like last time we seen him, he averaged 17 points per game over his complete games with the Giants.
I mean, his ceiling is obviously lower than what Fields has when he's cooking, but
Correct.
like the
Correct.
floor that Fields gave you last week I mean, Tyrod can be bad, but it's hard to be that bad.
He could be
Justin
okay for
Fields
Garrett
was
Wilson too. Like, absolutely. Like, I actually probably think he's safer.
yeah. I mean, you're saying Tyrod makes Wilson safer.
Yes. Yeah.
This by the way was Justin Fields efficiency. 92nd percentile success rate, 88th percentile, second and first
He
last
literally
week.
went from the highest EPA per dropback of his career in week 1 to the lowest in week 2.
It was
Like,
so
it was
bad.
dude,
The highs and the lows. Yeah.
just completely just was that all right, cool, Jekyll
Yeah.
Hyde.
But yeah, no, I think Wilson, I mean, Wilson's role is absurd.
They're
Here,
crazy. Yeah, it's
I'll
crazy.
pull up his profile that I have from the walkthrough. It's like it's uh it's just nuts.
He's
It's a
also
little
moving
smaller than I was
around
hoping it
more
would be.
too. I mean, he's played 41% of his snaps in the slot, which gives you access to some better targets too. So, I mean, I'm not playing him in DFS or anything. I'm just trying to make the bull case for like you saying like, "Hey, it was so bad last week. I want to bench him." I don't think you do that.
No, you don't do that. He has a 41% target share and better chance at least competent quarterback play. So
Correct.
I think you keep the faith with Garrett Wilson. I'm a little bit like he strikes me as someone like I don't know if he's like winning me a GPP,
Nah.
but he's gonna get fed. So yeah, I'm definitely playing Wilson, kind of a solid wide receiver 2 type, I think. Uh the rest of I mean, there's nothing in the rest of the passing game.
Nah.
And yeah, I think Bucky Irving, I think is still an RB1 in redraft. I wanted to
Mhm.
be excited about him in DFS this week, and I'm not. And it looks like he might even catch some ownership, but maybe not. Like I guess he could be an under the radar play if we do get Walker, because I think he'd be like the first guy people completely cut out. You'd go to Taylor, you'd go to McCaffrey on the expensive end, you go to Robinson, and then
Robinson.
you don't play Bucky if you have like a cheaper option in Walker. So
Right.
I think Bucky could be like super super low owned, and like they had these injuries popped up during the game last week, and he still ran pretty well. So I don't know. You'd bet on talent with Bucky potentially.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna. It's just this game could also just be lower volume and just one that's just not fun. But
Yeah,
I think the Jets are gonna be pretty competent here. I saw they'll at least be more competent than a week ago, which is a low bar, but
it's a very very low bar, but we'll take it.
yeah.
Speaking of guys cratering inefficiency, Geno Smith had the similar type of crater
Yep.
to Justin Fields, went from 88th to 7th in EPA per play. Uh, not a fun experience. Bowers was practicing this week after only getting one practice in last week, so him being a lot healthier would be really really nice. He was clearly not 100% last week, and Carroll made some comments after the game. It was basically like, yeah, we just have him out there type of stuff. Myers is going to project really well,
Yep.
and I think it makes sense. But with Bowers maybe taking a step forward, that like where are you at on that? You think Bowers is ready to be the number one here, or is it kind of Myers for now?
I would still lean towards Myers, but I'm interested in Bowers a little bit. I'm interested in this game as a little small stack early on because the one thing we really haven't touched on as we've gone over these games from like a DFS side is this is like our first like game theory slate because we are Cowboys Bears is going to be so popular,
Yeah, yeah,
and the way to play slates like this, and obviously we'll have different pivots at 4 because we also have 4 o'clock games, and all the ownership's really kind of centering around one game. Is you can take these shots on guys that are going to be lower owned at 1 o'clock. And if they hit, you then can eat more chalk. And if they don't, like you can kind of pivot and make your moves, right? So there's a lot of guys in these 1 o'clock games, especially a couple in these games we haven't even touched on yet that I'm looking at for like oneers and to do some things at one. And if they hit, then that's going to dictate the way I play like the afternoon and what I'm going to do in terms of adjustments. Because we haven't had that type of slate yet through the first 2 weeks of the season where we've only had the three late games each week, and then the ownership hasn't really gone to any of those games because week 1 it was supposed to be Packers Lions and it never really got there in terms of ownership, and last week Eagles Chiefs was the popular game for the NFL. No one cared about really for DFS. This is the opposite this week where Bears Cowboys is literally everyone is gravitating around that game right now.
yeah. And you can play from both sides,
Yeah.
so it's like it's I mean, and you can like legitimately play. I think both sides. Dunze is so cheap, and Moore is playable, and I think this is. We'll get
But
to the
this is
game. I think
one of
it's
the
an interesting
games I
spot.
think that
Both
offers
passing
like
offenses.
I'm not like onslaughting this game, but this game has pieces in it that I'm interested in early. Bowers being one because I
Mm.
don't think it's going to end up being a pay up tight end week. And if Bowers ends up playing really well in the early games, it's hitting Washington. They haven't been good. Against tight ends to open the year. He was still on the field for 85% of the dropbacks. Also, I think stylistically, the way the Raiders want to play their offense is just a terrible spot to the way Jesse Minter wants to play defense for the
Mm.
Chargers. Like they want to give up really no explosives and you push the ball. Like, dude, Gino threw the ball away in a 4th down on Monday night. Like,
That was so frustrating, man. Like,
like
what
what
are
the
you
hell,
doing?
man? Like, what the hell?
He's been in the league
Be,
way too long to be doing that.
yeah, but they're an offense from I think their signal is they want a big game hunt though, and I think they're going to
For
have a
sure.
spot here to be able to do that. And Myers, you just get he has double-digit targets in each game, and they can't run the ball yet. So like, and we'll see like if that eventually comes out. But like I wrote about this when Genty got drafted about the state of their offensive line. He has 30 handoffs, right? 30 carries right now, and 20 of them he's been hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. Some of those are his
Yikes.
own fault, but also like you're not getting any push. They didn't have any push in week 1 in positive game script. Like they're right now, at least the way they're set up is to throw the football and they're road dogs. So Myers and Bowers, I'm interested. And then, dude, like Mariota, like I'm sure he'll end up being like the cash game guy now, but this dude had more points per dropback than Lamar Jackson last year in the very small sample we've seen him. Like the offense doesn't have to
Lord, is
change.
that right?
Yes, dude, he played. So he had he came in the first time he came in was against the Panthers where Jaden had the rib injury, and then he finished QB8 in scoring that game. He had 19.6 fantasy points. Then in week 18, Daniel sat out the second half. Mariota only played 55% of the snaps and scored 26 fantasy points. He ran 18 times for
That's
92
crazy.
yards and a touchdown. He threw for 9 yards. Like this offense is made for him too. Like this is like what we did. And if you go back to even the Falcons and Raiders time, he has like a 15 game sample where he's played over 30% of the snaps and he's at like 16 fantasy points per game. So like it's the Raiders haven't been as bad as we thought they would be able to, but like this is kind of a really good spot. They have the rest advantage. He can run. He's like the archetype of quarterback we want. And then I think this is the spot too where Terry McLaurin it's like finally lines up for him this week to have kind of a little bit of a breakout. Remember last year at this
Interesting.
time? I kind of the way I'm looking at this, he only had 39 yards through 2 weeks last year too. So it's like nothing. We knew he had to hold out. He's still on the field a ton. He's on the field 94% of dropbacks. He's still 23% of the targets. Debo's a factor here, but because I don't think we can roll over the complete Mariota splits, but Mariota targeted McLaurin on 33% of his routes and his dropbacks last year, and he had just under 4 yards per out run with Mariota. I don't think we're going to get that because now Debo is involved, but structurally, where McLaurin gets his targets is where the Raiders have been bad to open the year.
Mm.
Right now, just to receivers alone, they're 22nd in yards per target to receivers, 24th in touchdown rate. But where they struggled is the downfield throws. That's McLaurin's specialty, right? Where the first 2 weeks really kind of lined up for Debo. We talked about Debo in week 1 against the Giants being potentially in a good spot. And then last week on Thursday against the Packers was a Debo game because the Packers don't give anything downfield and they have a good pass rush. So it was like, I didn't expect McLaurin to do well. Now we've got a Raiders team that doesn't necessarily rush the passer well. They've allowed a 60% completion rate on throws 20 yards or further to wide receivers. That's 25th. We saw Kayshon Boutte in week 1 get them for 100. Quentin Johnson at the 60-yard touchdown on Monday night. So I kind of like this as the little McLaurin spot here. He's one of the guys I'm going to be peppering into tournaments at the 1 o'clock spot. And if he doesn't, I've got to play other guys outside the Cowboys games.
I was my read on it was that I was kind of excited about him if Daniels was able to play, but not so excited about him with Mariota, just so that the downgrade in quarterback play. But then Debo actually kind of popping potentially, given the Eckler stuff. Like, how do they
Yeah, it
replace
could. Yeah,
Eckler?
it could totally happen.
Could be Debo. So, but that is interesting, just the downfield nature of the matchup potentially helping. Raiders have been decent against the run. We probably see Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt get the lead back role here, but it's a little bit hard. Like, it wouldn't shock me if it was kind of a three-way split still with McNichols, Rodriguez, and
And Debo.
JCM, but
And then you have Debo still.
and the Debo, yeah. But I think, JCM I'm going to in
What about
redraft.
Chase Edmonds?
Did he on the team?
They signed Chase Edmonds.
Oh
like
my God.
the ghost of Chase Edmonds.
Oh my God. Remember when it was Chase Edmonds versus James Conner? And now like Connor's still the starter there. Chase Edmonds is signed.
I didn't think about it. Edmonds had to be on. Edmonds, was he on the Cliff Cardinals? He had to have been, right?
That must have been.
Oh,
Cliff,
he was.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he was 20. Yeah, he was there 29. He was there. Yeah, so that's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he went to the Dolphins.
They were like, "Who should we call?" And Cliff was like, "I know a guy.
I know a guy.
I know a guy. He's not doing nothing. He's available." Like, you ever see the movie? You've probably seen the movie Major League, I'm assuming. And he's like, I got a guy on there lying about some white walls. Like, it's like that. Like, the same thing with Chase Edmonds. Cliff's like, I got a guy. Like,
he's not other teams calling him. He might have stuff going on. It's not NFL.
What do you think Chase Edmonds was doing? Like, when he got the call? Like,
dude, I don't know. He maybe like made himself a nice little lunch. He's just like having a nice little day. I guess I'm gonna play. Hey, babe, I'm gonna be a running back again.
Going back.
I'm going back. Yeah, Cliff called. All right, let's. I think are we done on this game? I think we're done.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's go to the Texans at Jags. This is a game where Jags offensive line been better than expected, but they've got one of their linemen's out. Guard as Cleveland might be out. Back-to-back DNPs. I didn't see what he did today yet, but that's not great. The rest of the line looks pretty good though. And then you're going up against a truly elite pass rush. So it's like, hey, you guys have been playing a little bit over your heads. That's cool. Congrats.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get exposed though here. Texans pass rush is awesome. Just, if they're popping in the numbers, you look at the individual players, they look great. The expectation was that they're going to be great. This is a really, really difficult test for the Jaguars, but I view it a little bit like the Rams, where I think like when things are going well, they might go kind of well. And it's a little bit like what the case I was making with Mike Evans, where you have that super low yards per target. It's even lower for Brian Thomas. He's got the wrist injury. He's going to play. His yards per target is 3.3. That's 13th percentile. He has a 14.2 ADOT. That's 78th percentile. When guys are running this far down the field and they're getting targeted with at a 24% clip on their routes and 26% of the team targets, like, you just cannot sustain a 3.3 yards per target. It will get better at some point. We promise. And I think it could be this week. I just don't know. Like, the game environment here, not great. I think the Jaguars are still probably going to look frustrating. People are going to be talking about Lawrence being a bust in this system and just, never being anyone we can count on. I think that's probably the narrative coming out of this. But maybe Thomas revives himself a little bit. And I could honestly see Hunter, depending on how many routes he runs, being interesting here too, as kind of the more shallow guy. He's got an ADOT of just 6.5. And if you're trying to beat the pass rush, quick passes to Hunter would make a lot of sense. I wouldn't play them together. I'm not like stacking this, but
no.
Yeah.
I was always gravitated towards the Jaguars in the offseason, like in terms of builds for like the later round guys, because of these two matchups, right? We're opening Carolina at Cincinnati. I was like, I'll just see what happens with some of these pieces, and then we'll try to figure it out the rest of the way. But now the test comes, and to see what we really have here, because right now Trevor Lawrence, the least pressured quarterback in the NFL, but the two teams he faced outside of facing the Jaguars also didn't get pressure those other games either.
Right.
So they're going to get heat here. Texans are fourth in pressure rate, ninth in blitz rate. And also, even those two teams that he's faced, when they have blitzed him, he's only completed 58% of his passes for 6.8 yards or passing. That's 22nd and 20th. So I do think we start to see this offense maybe not look as good as it did for stretches of weeks 1 and 2. They at least had spurts each week where you're like, this could work out. And that's the only thing that gives me pause of like going in on like the full bounce back for like a BTJ. But we know it's going to get better. I hope they move him into the slot more in this matchup too, because the Texans are just so good against outside receivers, and they rolled that over in weeks 1 and 2 as well. We've always liked to attack them through the slot, so hopefully Liam Cohen is sharp about that and getting him matched up in the slot more this week.
That would be nice. Yeah, it's a bad matchup. It's more just like when you look at Brian Thomas's profile, it's just a
Oh
screaming
yeah.
positive regression candidate.
Mm-hmm.
This game environment though could be kind of bad. There's some bad game environments in week 1 or in the early window of this of the 1 o'clocks is what I meant. Because the Jaguars defense looks like kind of okay. Uh, they're 7th in DVOA right now, 8th in passing DVOA, 6th in EPA upper dropback. They're 8th in dropback success rate against. They're 5th in pass rush win rate. They got some dudes in as pass rushers, and then you get this Texans offensive line that absolutely stinks. They're 29th in pressure rate. They can't get anything going. Their run game stinks. Like they knew about Mixon's foot. Like this is they had so much time to prepare. They knew in July. How is the plan Nick Chubb and then we'll like work in more Woody Marks over time? That's an insane plan.
I mean, the offensive line, the building of this offensive line was an insane plan too. When you knew,
Yeah.
obviously, when you trade Tunsil, because remember, not only did they not use any of their high draft picks on offensive linemen, the receivers they take, they're now also not playing. Like the receivers they used those draft picks on, they didn't play those guys either. So it's just been
They're
a
not they're
wild
playing
offseason.
Justin Watson.
It's been a
Justin Watson
wild
is 50% route participation.
the roster construction and the deployment of said roster construction through 2 weeks in the offseason is crazy because you trade Tunsil and you cut Shaq Mason. There was internal stuff that happened there behind closed doors where there was like a mutiny between in like the offensive line meetings and stuff. But you also don't replace those guys. You literally just bring in a bunch of cast-offs like Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram and Trent Brown and Cam Robinson. And you just like hope it's like literally the Arrested Development meme where it's just like it hasn't worked out for any of these other people. But maybe it'll work out for us.
Somehow delude themselves. Yeah.
And you look, and it's exactly playing out like as we thought it would be on paper. And on top of it, you're just running a lot of 11 personnel, not giving any help to these bad offensive linemen. You have no run game to speak of to like insulate, like do anything creative because we talked about it with Drake May in like week 1 when you're forced into these scripts, you can't do anything creative. Right now, CJ Stroud, pre-snap motion rate of 31%. It was his first 2 years in the NFL, 55.6%, 59.5%. They have an 11.8% play action rate right now.
Come on.
CJ Stroud, his first 2 years in the NFL, even this is PFF Bobby, who everyone hated. His first 2 years in the NFL, 23.6% and 26.5%. So more, it's been cut in half. Also, he's been stuck in the shotgun for 70% of his dropbacks. So he's just static shotgunning behind a bad offensive line. It's just hard to run offense like that in today's NFL. Like that's like it just plays into the hands of everything the defense wants. That every defense in the NFL is trying to do top down.
The other thing is that they're minus 5% pass rate over expected on 1st and 10 against the Rams, and then drops to minus 13% last week on 1st and 10. That's like, okay, if this was the Colts and you got Jonathan Taylor, like, okay, that's one thing. If you're for the Eagles, you got Barkley and the offensive line. You have Nick Chubb and a horrible offensive line, and you're just straight up wasting first downs where they don't know you're going to throw. So you go, let's run at a really high rate when they don't know what we're going to do. And then let's get in the shotgun and let everybody know we're going to pass behind this terrible offensive line and not do any kind of trickery. It's bad. Nick Caley, first time OC, it doesn't look good through 2 weeks. I kind of want to do a draft next year. Deep, maybe this is like a May, June type of thing where we draft the teams that we're going to make fun of in November and December. Like, who are we going to be like, what are they doing? Because it's so easy to be optimistic in the summer, but there were so many signs with this team. Like, and this was a little bit later, but they're bringing in, they brought in Nick Chubb and Mixon's clearly not healthy. And why haven't they replaced Tunsil? And why did they get rid of Tunsil? Why couldn't they have worked that out? Like, there were a lot of red flags here in retrospect.
Yes.
It looks
Yeah.
pretty bad.
Quite a bit, yes, that are played out. And,
Yeah.
I had some optimism, not for their offensive line or run game, but I had some optimism for Caley just because, where he comes from and,
Pedigree is good.
yeah, it's, so I had some optimism in that capacity and just nothing creative, nothing optimal. They're just doing everything so suboptimal. It's a pulling teeth. The one thing you can say about CJ Stroud is he's running a lot more because he has to. Literally has
Right.
to run.
Right.
It's like the Mahomes thing. Like Mahomes has to run right now because it's the only thing that the offense can do. And that's like kind of where the Texans are. Like CJ Stroud's had some good scrambles. It's like all their best plays outside of the touchdown run where it sounded like after the game too, the Buccaneers let Nick Chubb score on that play.
Yeah. I think they did. I mean,
yeah,
it's
to get the
kind
ball
of
back. Like they basically said, like the word was like kind of like we just wanted them to score as fast as possible.
I mean, it's Galbrain because you could have stopped. They had 3 timeouts, so you could have stopped them. They kick a field goal, you get the ball back, and then you don't have to. You just drive down for I think it would have been a game-winning field goal.
Yes.
But if they get a first down, then the game's almost over because they can bleed
They
the
run it
clock.
all the way down. They run it all the way down.
And you never get the ball back. So I kind of
It
like
seemed
it.
like all the commentary was kind of saying like it was like they let him score.
I included two tweets about it. One from Rick Stroud when the quote from Bowles was, "I don't think it matters. We won the game." So he refused to say. And then there's a very funny clip of Antoine Winfield where he just like is laughing, and it's like he's like, "Yeah, no, it was a great run, man. It was a great run." Like they let him score. I'm convinced now.
I'm also convinced.
What if they let him score again, Rich? Is that
that's how Nick Chubb gets there. This is how we win.
Everybody lets him score.
What did we just?
He's a great
Nick
guy.
Chubb
People
score?
love Nick Chubb. Just let
they
him
do
score.
love him.
They do love him.
I still have some mild interest as Nico as a oneer here, as much as we just talked about it being terrible.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of the Brian Thomas thing where he's got a 5.5 yards per target. That's 3.3 yards below expected. He's a 29% target share. So, kind of classic positive regression candidate where you're getting the targets, not getting the efficiency. At some point it'll click. He's by far, I mean, he's got to be helped. He's not clamoring for them to take Xavier Hutchinson and Justin Watson off the field. It's helping his target competition quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a good history, obviously, which doesn't matter. But through over 100 yards, 3 of the past 4 against the Jaguars. And the one thing the Jaguars have done so far is kind of allowed some receiver production through the 2 games. Tet should have had a big game in week 1. Again, the horseshoes and hand grenades receiver. Maybe he always will be, but they had injury to Jerry Jones, which forced Hunter to play more defense. But Tyson Campbell's already allowed 2 touchdowns. Jordan Lewis has already allowed 7 catches for 2 games. So maybe if there was, it's a step of faith, like I said, to even play anyone in this offense. But again, I'm looking for like these guys in these 1 p.m. games that maybe offer like the 20 to 30 point outcome. And I still think Collins does fit that profile that if he bricks, so be it. I go in another, it's the thing, you go in a different direction.
Any interest in ETN here? Because the Texans have not been good against the run. They're actually
they haven't been that great.
Success rate.
We thought they'd be better. I have mild interest. It's one of the ones too that he got there. Like the fact that Tootin was already getting like red zone touches, very bullish kind of signal in week 2 because we thought he was going to be the guy that take over most of the Tank Bigsby runs, but the fact that they were calling screens, because that's a Liam Cohen special, is using your running backs in the receiving game in the red zone. Like he's done this always. He did it with Ray Davis at Kentucky a ton. He did it with the Bucks, obvious last year a ton. And to see already in week 2, both those guys get screen pass touchdowns in the red zone. It's like, oh, this is going to be a thing here again. Like this is what he does. So, and Tootin getting one of those was pretty awesome to see.
I did enjoy that.
Yeah, so just a little.
But 66% snaps for ETN last week. That's up
still
from week
the lead.
1. Yeah, he's clearly still the guy here for this week. I think Tootin, like, I have a decent monetary investment in the idea that Tootin will take this job over the course of the year. But I think for this week, ETN's more than safe. So, I guess it wouldn't shock me if like Tootin had 40% of the attempts. He had 30% last week. And that would obviously hurt ETN. But this is kind of a good matchup. or at least potentially a good matchup. And then you look at the game environment. Like, I think the Jags have been looking to play, looking to kind of run the ball from ahead so far.
Yeah.
And like I said, their defense is better than we expected. And the Texans' offensive line and all the stuff going on there is more disastrous than we were hoping. So this could be a spot where the Jaguars are able to kind of run the ball and feed ETN and Tootin a little bit. So
Yep.
I think ETN's definitely he's like an interesting redraft guy for sure. And I don't think off the radar for DFS. I mean, he be kind of one of these like super low owned 1 o'clock plays?
Oh yeah, he's not going to be popular on this slate in particular, just because of the price point where he's at, and especially like you brought up the Walker stuff. Like anytime you get those two guys kind of priced in that same zone, people are just going to have blinders for some of the other guys.
Yeah.
In that we're going to talk about a couple of other receivers probably too, because like that's going to happen with Rome this week. You know, is where Rome's priced, and there's some receivers around him that could still be good this week, but everyone's just gonna have Rome blinders.
Yeah, David shouted him
what
out
happened.
as a pivot. I prefer Hall to ETN, but I think ETN, like if you want to
I
go
would
ETN
also
as your
prefer
super
Hall.
1%,
I would
yeah,
also prefer Hall.
um,
But it
it's
does
viable,
he fits in the same profile.
100%. All right, Broncos at Chargers. I feel like we haven't talked about a game that I thought could be like legitimately fun for a while. I think this game could be legitimately fun.
Well, we're about to close strong.
We're gonna close strong, yeah. 4 o'clock window. Stick with us. For the third hour of the pod.
Yeah.
We're almost doing this in real time. Where it would now be the 4 o'clock window on a Sunday. Um, the uh, the Chargers side of this, I'll kind of kick that off. The Broncos defense is good. The pass rush is really good. They're second in quick pressure rate. They're first in pressure rate. They're first in blitz rate. Like they're gonna create some problems here for the Chargers. But the Chargers have a very good offensive line. Joe Alt has been awesome. Even without Rashawn Slater, the line has performed really well so far. They're used to getting blitz. They have the fifth highest blitz rate against. Herbert has been very good against the blitz. They're ninth in preventing pressure. They're eighth in preventing quick pressure. So this is an offensive line that I think will hold up reasonably well. And then the Broncos, they're 26th in coverage grade. They actually have allowed some plays downfield. And we have the Chargers, obviously, with the pass rate over expected stuff looking pretty bullish.
Amazing.
But the thing is, right? Like it's over expected. So 14% over expected, 13% over expected. What's expected? The lowest pass rate in the expected pass rate in the league. They have a 51% expected pass rate. That's 3% below the Packers, who are at 54%, is the second lowest. So they have a 65% pass rate this year, the Chargers. That's 15th in the NFL. So it's not particularly high because they haven't been one of these game environments where they actually get pushed. Like, what if they have a 65% expected pass rate and this keeps up? Are we talking about them throwing nearly 80% of the time, or at least like 75% of the time? That's the potential that we get if this stuff is real and they're actually in a fun game environment. So yes, the matchup gets tough here, but maybe you have Bo Nix pushing on the other side of this game a little bit, and them actually having to pass. Where when you look at the way the Broncos are going to approach this, they've been committed to the pass. Nix had a much better week 2 than week 1. The Chargers pass rush is not been strong. They've been very good in coverage, but they have not been strong as a pass rush. And the Broncos offensive line is awesome. So you might have a clean Nix here, even if he's got a difficult secondary to work against. We could have him looking pretty strong here, and Sean Payton willing to pass, where they've had 65% and 62% pass rate over the first 2 weeks, which have been well above expected. They had just a 58% expected pass rate in week 1, so 7% above expected there, and then they were 5% above expected in week 2 against the Colts. So offenses pushing each other, right? Like defensive matchups matter, but we also want offenses who can push each other. Not a lot to happen here, given that both defenses are good. But this is like the late window game. That's not the game. We'll get to that. But this is one of those like pivot off the Cowboys Bears, come here, and there could actually be like a lot of fantasy goodness in this game. Maybe a bounce back spot for Lad McConkey. the Broncos stuff is obviously harder to chase, but I think specifically playing it through the Chargers side here and betting on this pass rate of expected stuff to be real, and betting on the Broncos defense to be good, but not someone we have to avoid.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the Broncos, as good as their defense is, and we respect them, we've seen this now multiple examples where they can be pushed into these high tempo games. Obviously, we had the game last week that got there, and then you go back to last year. When they faced teams that necessarily couldn't run the football but had really high aggressive pass rates, they would play in these shootouts. The Joe Burrow game, obviously, we had that. We had the Jameis Winston Monday night game where the Broncos got pushed into a shootout. And we had this same matchup the last time these teams played in Los Angeles was 61 combined points, 34-27 Chargers game where both teams went over 350 yards of offense. So as good as the Broncos defense is, like, yes, we have that here. Like, we have a potential still for this game to have a really good run out, be high scoring, have touchdowns scored. Because if we just come into that late game slate and that Cowboys game is the only game that pops, everyone's going to have those guys. So we're going to have to find some pivots, especially if your 1:00 players did not do good, that you need to come off of that offer some upside, or you just want to get away from that game. If you're building late game slates as well. So yeah, I love that. I love the fact that right now
That's a great call. This is an interesting late slate type of approach, because God, the Cowboys Bears are gonna be chalky on the main slate. Late slate is just gonna soak up a ton.
Yeah. I love playing those too. I don't ignore those gamers. Last week, our guy that we talked about, Taekwon, got me there
Nice.
in a late game lineup. Yeah. Mahomes missed him on that one where he was like uncovered, and I was dying inside. I was like, you got to be kidding me, Mahomes. And then he hit the one and we got back. So I was happy.
Nice.
But the reason we like the Chargers here is because right now they're having a lot of trouble running the football. And if this game is going to get there, and because remember when they played last year too, like they caught the Broncos with an iteration where they weren't running the football well at that time too. And Herbert threw the ball really well in that game, over 9 yards per pass attempt, 2 touchdowns, absolutely cooked Vance Joseph when he tried to blitz a little bit in that game, and Vance Joseph just called off the dogs. So if they're not going to be running the football, they're going to be throwing the football. We know, and we have Patrick Surtain kind of locking around Quentin Johnston for most part. Like, we know we can just play it through literally Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Ladd McConkey. Like, to me, like it's pretty clean, like what to do. Like if you want to come and just do, if you had Dak stacks or Caleb stacks, to just turn them into Herbert.
There's no tight end.
Yes, there's no tight end. And the kicker is these guys played on Monday night, so their pricing was already set. Like Keenan Allen's 4,700 on DraftKings. Like,
that is
the price, like, it works out really well. And then I think you can try to whack-a-mole a Denver guy if you want. It is a lot harder, like you said.
It's hard.
It is very hard because all we have as a cheapie is to chase the Troy Franklin stuff. And we've been down this road before, but I do think it's a little different for Troy Franklin because it's a constant ramp. It's been a constant drumbeat ramp up. Like they talked about him in the preseason, and they were
traded Vele. Like it's things have happened. Like, it's not just talk.
They talked about it in the preseason. He played well. They trade Vele. Week 1, he comes out and plays more snaps than Marvin Mims. Then in week 2, he literally has the highest route participation of any non-Cortland Sutton wide receiver over the past 2 years. Now, the one thing that we have to put at least in some question is the target share stuff, because the target share also came in a game where Cortland Sutton had no targets.
Yep.
Like, that's not also going to happen. Like, we'll fully believe in a game where Troy Franklin gets targets alongside Cortland Sutton getting targets. And we could have that here. Yeah. Like that could exist, but it is harder to chase flying blind because Cortland Sutton also had it would have been a lot easier if Cortland Sutton had an 8-target game last week and Franklin had his target share. But the fact that Cortland Sutton had really no targets is like, all right, well, how many weeks is that going to happen?
He also saw 4 screen targets last week.
Yeah.
Which
you will have in this offense anyways, because that's what they do.
Yeah, but that's like a game plan. I joked that maybe he's the Joker. He's in the Joker role.
Everyone's the Joker. That's Sean Payton's true joke. Is everyone's the Joker?
Yeah. So, I mean, man, 4 screens, he might be. But his first read stuff was like whatever, 11% in week 1, jumps to 14% in week 2. If you add in the 4 screens, it jumps to screens plus first reads. He was at 29%. So like they very clearly were trying to get him the ball, but they're trying to get him the ball in like this specific design touch way, which really might be game plan related, and would be the type of thing that potentially would not translate the next week. And Cortland Sutton, he had a 16% first read target rate week 1, 17% in week 2. So, didn't do anything with his targets in week 2 and didn't have any other targets. He just had a 17% targets per out run overall week 2. So not obviously a great week for Cortland Sutton, but like not the type of thing where I'm like, oh, he's dead, he's out of the offense. Like, no, he had a higher first read target rate than Franklin in both weeks. So it's the type of thing where I'd prefer to see it again. We talk about like the late slate. That might be where I would play Franklin in the late slate. I think in a main slate, it's a little thin.
Oh yeah.
But he's more like in redraft or, yeah, like if you're like, I mean, you probably don't need to think about it to be a deeper league. Maybe the Scott Fishbowl, if you got him and floating on your bench, you could throw him in there. If you have to be pretty deep league, but
Yeah.
it's definitely more like I'm like, okay, this was cool. Let's see if it can build from here.
Because he's done it to us so many times. Like
Yeah.
Vele last year, he had a game, I think, where he ran 80% of the routes, and you're like, oh, can we pick up Vele and keep you a weekly starter? And you're like, hell no, that didn't happen. And then Mims started to do it, and then it's like, you're like, well, it's cool that Mims keeps scoring a long touchdown every week. So we've been here. Sean Payton's definitely Lucius pulled the football on us many times.
And on the other side, it's like you're saying, Allen's gonna have some ownership, but still a strong play. And then Herbert, McConkey. It's just an easy double stack. Move on with your life. I don't think I'm gonna waste the brain power on trying to figure out Denver here.
100%. They did run like a non-backfield split last week. I mean, we're not getting to Dobbins probably unless it's like a 4 p.m. only because he's not running any pass routes. He has to get a touchdown. But last week was like the first week it was like kind of a 50-50 to open the game, and then Dobbins was the closer. Like in week 2, it was just Dobbins to open as the guy.
I noted the success rate on
As
Harvey is 27%. That's real bad. And Dobbins is at 36%, which is also bad. And he was inconsistent for the Chargers. He had just a 34% success rate. Coaches really care about this stuff. I think like you're not churning out positive gains in the run game. They don't like that. That's kind of the point of the run game in a lot of ways. And Dobbins is kind of this like more boom bust runner. Harvey's like a more extreme version of that right now, which I don't think helps in the short term. It could help in the long term because if he's more successful, like if he gets the success rate stuff sorted, then you're just Dobbins with more juice, which is how you just take the job. But this week, I think it'll continue to be Dobbins until we get more consistency from Harvey, and then Tyler Bidet still had 22% of snaps last week.
Still doing it.
He's a thorn, man.
Yeah.
It's the Denver side, like through and through. I think you could play Dobbins as kind of like an RB3 trying to get a touchdown in redraft, and that's about the extent of my interest. Knicks, I guess, like this could be a good game for Knicks. If you're not so worried about the stacking stuff, it's a pretty good spot for Knicks. I could see him producing.
Yeah, I mean, if you just don't have the salary to swap from Dak or Caleb, and you don't want to go to Mac Jones, and you probably don't even have the salary in that stance to even get the Kyler, you might have to do Bo in that stance just to do something different and hope you get some rushing and you don't try to guess the touchdowns, right?
Yeah,
because Herbert and Kyler are more expensive than both Dak and Caleb, but Bo Nix is right in between them. So
and like naked Bo isn't crazy. He can run, he can scramble.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. And it just saves you the heartache of you pick a guy and he's not the guy.
Yeah. It's Bo and May. I'm like, you're
yeah, Drake. He is. Yeah,
I'm not stacking you.
Drake May adjacent.
Yeah. Saints Seahawks. This is do we have the news yet?
I just checked, and Zach Charbonnet is doubtful to practice. So I'm gonna assume that. Yep, Zach Charbonnet doubtful to practice. I've been checking as we were approaching it to see if there's anything new, and he's doubtful to practice.
All right. Well, let's cover it as this is going to be a Kenneth Walker solo game. Then he's going to be big time owned in DFS. 5,800. He slots right in. Kind of. I would say to me he's probably like a high end RB2 in redraft as opposed to like an RB1. But I guess I could be talked off that. Um,
It's close enough though to where it's that area.
Yeah, it's that area. Like, would you play him or Kyron?
Probably Walker.
Would you play him or Kamara?
Oh, full PPR I could be swayed in the Camaro a little bit. I guess we're going to talk about that, but
Yeah, we'll
probably
talk
still
about that,
Walker.
yeah.
I think it's a spot where you're just a 7-point home favorite. It's just you just do it. You just play it. Play the dude.
Any interest in George Haluni here as as the new starter?
Who knows, man? He'll probably get some touches. But this is honestly as good of a run out you could hope from the week 1 disaster for Kenneth Walker. That because just going from week 1 to being explosive in week 2, and then now Zach Charbonnet is hurt in week 3. Like this is because week 1, if you had Kenneth Walker, you felt terrible.
It's really bad. I think it's even better. Like the fact that his snaps fell in week 2, he went from 40% to 35%. That is now bullish because it created this like huge backlash to the coaching staff. Like, you idiots, like, given his performance, like how, and then Charbonnet's on a per attempt basis, Kenneth Walker was literally RB1 last week in rush yards over expected per attempt, and Charbonnet was dead last. Like, they could not have been any more polar opposite.
He's failed to gain yards, period, gain any yards on 37% of his runs. It's the highest rate in the league.
So bad.
And the other thing that Walker has going for him is what we talked about Barkley. The Seahawks are number 1 in running back runs against heavy boxes, but Charbonnet he's a dude that gets you consistent runs, and he wasn't even doing that for 2 weeks, but he's never like the pull away guy, where Walker is the pull away guy because he had 4 runs of double-digit yards last week. Like, he's the guy that beats the stack box. Now he'll also have 6 runs in a row where he'll lose yards, but that 7th run might be the 35-yarder.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I understand the idea of like Kenneth Walker's a little boom bust and we're sick of it, but like to then put Charbonnet in as the lead guy when he has a 23% success rate, it's like he's worse, guys. Like, Walker's at 39%. It's fine.
I saw some
live
stuff
with
that they just loved his pass protection. That's what was
Okay.
like creating the difference. But it's like, okay, well, you don't have to hand it off to him then. Like, there's plenty.
Daria Gumbwala is a pretty good pass protector too. He doesn't start. What are you guys doing?
Right. It's just like, yeah.
So
but
yeah,
I feel like it's a spot to not overthink it really that much.
Just
Even
Walker.
if you're a Walker detractor, I think it's just like, come on, it's 7
I'm a little bit of a Walker detractor, and I think when people get really excited about how good Walker is, I'm kind of like,
fair.
He's good. He's not amazing, but I don't think he's bad. I think the stuff of them playing Charbonnet was ridiculous. I also kind of thought it was like a little funny because I thought Walker was overdrafted and I didn't take a ton of them, but it was obviously dumb. They shouldn't have been doing it, and now they won't be. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I just moved him up to running back 14 in the ranks here. We'll obviously be revisiting that, but yeah, kind of the high end RB2 in between Kamara and Kyron for me.
I mean,
right now.
here's the fun one. I mean, you playing Kenneth Walker or Chase Brown?
See, I think I would play Chase Brown.
Ooh,
he's running back 1, I think, in team attempt share. Like, he's still getting all of it. I know the targets aren't quite as good as we were hoping, but yeah, he's got a 91% and 94% carry share through 2 weeks, and then 14% and 7% target share. So that's not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, I think we could see them lean on the run a little bit. But I don't know. I was looking at some stuff. I think I might be like a little bit higher on Brown than consensus is just like a bet on the roll.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about him.
Yeah.
But again, I just feel like when you have one of these spots where it's like running back getting a lot of touches as a huge home favorite, it's always just one of those. Yeah. Just do the thing. Just do the thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
You can also keep playing JSN too. Just keep doing that.
Well, JSN, I mean, this was one of the funny things. I've noted that he was Puka, kind of like a Puka type of role. I think Scott Barrett's talked about him in kind of a Puka type of role. Kupp, obviously coming from the Rams, and now he's getting the leftovers that are gigantic leftovers. He had 21% first read target rate last week. 29% targets per out run and 3.21 yards per out run. This is Cup. So
Yeah.
he's getting the oh my God, the great role, Andrew, the number 2 kind of stuff that Adams has right now. It's just that this team doesn't pass. And so my worry here for JSN would be that, you don't have to pass on the Saints. And they've had 51% and 55% pass rates over the last 2 weeks. They were at minus 14% pass rate over expected in week 1. They were at minus 1% last week. So maybe their goal is basically to like pass about half the time, and they're going to do that regardless of the game script. But they're not going to. It was nice to see they didn't like pass like 40% of the time last week, at least with the more neutral game script. But either way, we're not going to see a ton of passing volume in most of their games, and this is a game where they could dominate, and they could do it with a heavy dose of the run. I mean, Walker being out, let's be honest, helps them. Like, Walker is better than Charbonnet. So if you're going to run a bunch and now it has to all be Walker because you can't use Charbonnet, like that, you're getting saved from yourself a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah. You're not giving as many bad handoffs, at least through the sample we have this season.
Yeah. So Saints aren't terrible against the run. They're worse against the pass, but I'm betting more on the philosophy here. I mean, Mike McDonald fired his OC for passing too much and brought in Clint because he runs the ball a ton. So like they're gonna run. They're gonna run a bunch.
Yeah, and this is a spot too where the Saints have been putting up some fight, but this is their first road game. It's they're going to Seattle. It's tough. So I've been optimistic that at least they're losing with like the way we care about for fantasy, because like they're keeping like the games relevant. But this is a spot where I could see them kind of maybe getting blown out. Like it maybe could be a spot where like they just not are as competitive. But Juwan Johnson still, like we talked about last week, like these guys that just run all the routes at tight end, and he's not even priced up yet. Like he's still they're lagging like on his opportunity, like because it's not just he's running all the routes. He's also his target share is good while running a lot of routes, and he's got the red zone and end zone targets. He kind of has it all like right now. So like it's another one of these things.
He's a tight end 1.
Yeah, like I don't even think it's like close. Like he's way underpriced still for where he's at on both sites. And the Seattle hasn't particularly been great against tight ends, through 2 games either.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty clear cut target here. People are like, not fully baking in how strong it's been for him. I would also note that Chris Olave ran
usage has been great.
100% of the routes last week. 25% targets per out run, 30% in week 1. Another one of these guys, yards per target of 4.7. That's 3.8 below what you'd expect, but he's getting used in the slot, 40% slot rate. He's an 8 out of 9.8. So he's not being asked to be like a 14. Like I talked about Mike Evans and Brian Thomas and Nico Collins, and kind of this same role where the yards per target is bad. All those guys are downfield players, and so the yards per target is like way worse than you'd expect, in part because they're getting some more boom bust targets, but you could really see it coming the other way. And a week, all of a sudden their yards per target, it's like 20, or 15, because they hit on some of those plays and it swings wildly the other way, which is awesome. Olave is not being used so far downfield, but I think given that Rattler is his quarterback, good. Give me the and sure, his yards per target when you get to the end is probably gonna be worse than you'd expect, just given the depth of his targets, because he's got Spencer Rattler as his quarterback. I understand that, but this is still way, way below what you would expect for his yards per target. His 22nd percentile yards per target. That's not going to hold. So his 1.3 yards per route run very much understates his role in the offense. I think for a player this talented with this role, you'd be kind of looking at like probably 1.8, 1.9 yards per route run. And I think he gets back to that at some point. So kind of a keep the faith guy right now. I think still probably more of a wide receiver 3 than wide receiver 2, but
full PPR guy.
Full PPR redraft type of keep the faith, keep him in your lineup, I think.
Yeah, Devin Witherspoon looks like he's also going to miss the Seattle slot cornerback. Maybe it helps him just continue to just again do like the 6 for 50, 7 for 60 type thing. Kind of the poor man. Is it crazy? It's like Jacoby Myers now. It's like Chris Olave's Jacoby Myers.
Dude, that's wild. I think you're right. I think it's Jacoby Myers.
It's like kind of what he's
Kinda love
doing.
it.
He's doing like the Jacoby Myers bit, right? Like the
Yeah. He's moving around. They use him in the
good target
slot.
share, getting the slot stuff, but not really getting downfield targets, but getting double-digit targets a game.
Yeah. They're not
That-
gonna have any touchdowns because those will go to Juwan Johnson. But
yes, yeah,
and Rashid
yeah,
Shaheed, I guess. Yeah, I like it. All right, let's save the Cowboys game
yeah.
for
For
the
last,
end
we'll
so we
just
can
bring it
end on a
home.
high note. Uh
I'll
and
just say too,
talk.
yeah, Kamara, Seattle's been awful against running backs the first 2 games. So like
Hmm.
full PPR, he has a little bit of juice too.
Also, I did this whole thing where I was like, after week 1, I was like, Kellen Moore, it might seem weird to us not to use Alvin Kamara as a receiving back, but look at the EPA. Like he's like sucking value out of this offense when you throw it to him. Like he's from a from a real life perspective. Like this dude has not been good. Like he is washed in all senses. They should not be throwing to him. And good on them, smart of them to only give him a 5% target share. And then he was up to 18% last week.
And they weren't good. He only had 21 yards and fumbled.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I probably got too excited about. He's probably still in the same scammy
You look
PPR
right
role that
still
he
though,
always has.
because 6 catches for 21 yards. What did
Well, I'm
those?
right that it's dumb, but I was wrong that it would stop.
Oh, like yeah, that would just go away. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I was like, look, it's going away like it should, and then it did not at all. So I've got Kamara on some eliminator teams though, so it's fine. Please scam and keep me alive. Uh, the Cardinals of 49ers. Anything jump out to you about this game?
Yeah, a couple things. This game, I think, offers a lot of isolated pivots too. That stood out to me when I wrote up this game. Definitely, the first one was Kyler Murray, who's had pretty 2 nondescript games, and I think people look at the 2 games against Carolina and the Saints, and they're just like, it's just uninspiring, right? Like, we're gonna wash our hands with the Kyler experience. I felt that way too, like watching those games. And then when I came away to write up this game, I came out way more bullish as him potentially being a guy that you could maybe pivot to or look at in these 4 o'clock games, because it's very similar to why people want to play Caleb Williams, right? Like, but so you brought this up last week, and I was kind of like, I'm going to give it one more week about the Arizona running game. And they can't run the football right now. And it's very interesting because the Cowboys can run the football, and they hired Clayton Adams, and Clayton Adams left the Cardinals. And it's like, man, it's very rudimentary. There's definitely more to it than this, but it's like, oh man, like the Clayton Adams departure actually like have an impact on this run game. They're actually very pass heavy too in neutral game scripts that I didn't notice, like, because it's just a sample of 1 in week 1, and now we got a 2 game sample. But they have a 67% drop back rate in the first half of games. It's 6th in the NFL. And it goes to 21, or it goes to 21st in the NFL, 54.9% in the second half, because they just haven't played anybody. Like they weren't pushed in either game against the Saints or the Panthers. So it's like, man, all right. So they want to throw the ball, they can't run the ball. And then I'm also looking at this. I'm like, right now, Kyler Murray has a career high scramble rate as well. It's 10.4%. He said this offseason he was going to
Yeah, he
run
did
more.
say.
He was like, I'm going to run more. And I'm like, wow, if they're going to drop back more and be pushed because they're road dogs here, Kyler's running more than ever. Like, is this a spot he could hit? Then I uncovered one more nugget. In 5 career games against Robert Saleh defenses, Kyler's run for 58 yards per game with 4 touchdowns. He averages 24 fantasy points per game against Robert Saleh defenses and better versions than the one this current one is. And I was like, man, like Kyler actually, I was like, you don't see like like sometimes you do a walkthrough probably when you're writing a player and like, you kind of have an idea where it's going to go. And then sometimes it just goes in a different direction. That was
This
like
is one of
me
my favorite
this
things
week.
about doing it, where I'm like, I could write this up in my sleep, and then I go to like do all the stuff, and I'm like, none of this is what I thought it would be.
That was me, because I'm like, if I wasn't writing somebody, I would totally look at Kyler's first 2 games. They'd be like, Panthers, Saints didn't give us nothing. There's no way he's giving us anything here. And as I uncovered, I'm like, man, they're probably gonna have more dropbacks, which means more running. He's also he's run a lot in this matchup, anyways. Yeah, so it's like, man, like I came away like a little bit more optimistic on Kyler through definitely probably more through his legs than through him throwing the ball, but I still think it's you have the opportunity to stack him too as well. They're trying stuff with Marvin Harrison. It's not necessarily clicking, but then Trey McBride, no one's going to want to click Trey McBride because no one plays guys against the 49ers. And
Right.
in his 3 games against the 49ers, granted, we still have to do a thing where he has no touchdowns, but he's got 11, 11, and 9 targets in this matchup. Like he gets the ball still. He gets the ball.
Yeah, and looking at the 49ers on defense, they have their linebackers cover really well. Their safeties, their cornerbacks are all looking pretty weak right now. And you look at what the way Kyler has passed thus far, he's got a 2.55 time to throw. He's not been super aggressive. So part of me, I'm like, is this a spot where Kyler, who's had just a 6% deep pass rate, and his average throw is traveling 3 yards short of the sticks, which is super conservative. So it's like this
Mhm.
quick, get the ball out really quickly, get it out pretty shallowly, not taking a lot of shots. If he's scrambling around, if he's running around a little bit more, we could also see more downfield passing. That's where this defense looks kind of vulnerable, actually. And then the 49ers, they've had a 57% pass rate against them with minus 11% over expected. So you're like, oh, maybe this is like kind of a run funnel. But they played the Seahawks and the Saints. And I
Yes.
think that's probably because the Seahawks and the Saints don't want to have to pass a ton. And if you're going to let them run, they will. But if the Cardinals want to pass on this defense, they might be kind of able to expose the 49ers a little bit here. I think the 49ers might be a much weaker pass defense
Than we've
than the
seen so
numbers
far.
show through 2 weeks. Yeah. And I actually am kind of interested. I don't know. Maybe like this would be like pivot or late game slate stuff. But I'm going back to Marvin Harrison, I think here. I think he's like a low on wide receiver 2 in redraft. Like I would break ties to
Mhm.
Harris. I think his upside here, like his targets look weak. 16% targets per out run, 10% first read target rate. Those are weak numbers, but Kyler's not throwing deep. Kyler's throwing quickly. Like that's not how you emphasize. They unfortunately, like I wish his role was better. I wish
Yeah.
they were using him more creatively. They're
Like I said,
not.
they're trying very small things,
Yeah,
but it's not,
not enough.
he's also just not gonna turn it down on Ross St. Brown.
No, 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 no. But it's more like a Dunze, right? Where it's like if
Yeah.
you're attacking downfield, he
Right,
could
right, right.
go off that way. And I think that's kind of the spot. You're hoping you get kind of an Adunze type game out of Harrison. I think there's a pretty decent chance of that. And then
You can
McBride,
always get touched. The one thing that is still true with him is the touchdown equity stuff is still real. He has 2 end zone
yeah.
targets. He's got an end zone target in both games. So like that exists, the touchdown equity.
And Kyler's missed him on that throw that would have been a super long touchdown in week 1. Like it could be better. McBride's obviously always an awesome play, but I think this is
Hmm.
like relative to the starts, this feels like a Harrison setup to me. Um, McBride's still the number 1 in the
Yeah,
offense, though.
yeah.
He's got a 30% target share. He's run the most routes at tight end. He's clearly the tight end this week with Bowers not 100% and pretty nice DFS play as well. Although I wonder if maybe it will become a pay up a tight end week if everyone can save salary with Walker now and
Yeah.
Mason.
I mean, maybe we're still gonna have
There's
I mean
Musgrave it.
Juwan and Jake Ferguson are gonna be real popular.
Well, Musgrave's 2,700,
Oh
so
yeah, so people will be punting with him
people
too.
just punt. Yeah, yeah. Um, but anyway, so tough to say exactly how it'll pan out ownership wise.
But yeah, I like that. And then and it's cool about the Cardinals too is we don't have to worry about anyone else. Like,
Nope,
guys.
nope, including the running backs because
Yep.
Benson keeps playing.
Yeah, I mean, you tried to talk me off of that too, and I was like, I want to give it one more week because he was, I was like, oh, in week 1, Connor like absorbed the DeMercado stuff and was still running a lot of routes, and then that went away last week, and I was like, all right, so now you had 2 great matchups against the Saints and Panthers. You didn't hit. He did get the touchdown deodorant in both games, but I mean, he's got 28 touches for 96 yards through 2 games and matchups where we wanted to attack and.
Yeah,
I just think like maybe they just aren't running the football well as good this year. And like I said, that maybe that played a role into why they're throwing earlier in these games. So if they're not gonna be able to run the football effectively, that kind of pushes just more to the passing game. So that's the
100%.
way I was looking at it.
Anything on the 49ers side?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, again, lots of stuff I think with the receivers because I think Jennings is a really good like core play anyways. I think it's been kind of proven now that Jennings is the foxhole guy in this offense. He just gets the run more, floor saving routes than Ricky Pearsall. But I am going to get to Pearsall in a second because I actually think he's very
He's the number
interesting.
one, right?
Yeah,
He's the
he's just the number one. He's running stuff. So we now have a 47 route sample this year where he and Pearsall have been on the field together at the same time without George Kittle. And Jennings has 13 targets and Pearsall has 6.
yeah.
And this goes back to
Pearsall's
last year
A
too.
dot's
Like,
nice. He's getting used downfield.
yeah. Oh, that's why I want to. Yeah, because I want to get to touch on him for a second because I actually think he in the tournament play is very interesting in this game, especially because he's priced right near Rome, who's going to be popular. Is because now that we've started to see like maybe it settle a little bit, and we know that what Jennings and Pearsall are playing, we got kind of see like the routes they're running and like the way they're utilized, and it gives Jennings a higher target share, and it makes his floor better. But also, I don't want to say like Pearsall's like bad now either, and I feel like that's where we're kind of like it started to pick up steam like that at the end of last week. But this is a guy who still had 100 yards in week 1, is still averaging 21 yards per catch. And like to me, that offers upside in this specific matchup because he's running all like the routes early career Brandon Ayuk would run, where like people would get mad at like Ayuk because they'd be like, oh, he's only get 6 targets, and then he'd somehow get 100 yards or like 85 yards and 2 touchdowns, and like people would be like, well, we can't play him because he's not getting any targets. Like that's what Pearsall's doing right now is 18 yards per target, high. Like the targets he's getting like carry a lot of fantasy fat. That's why he leads the team in air yards, and that specifically matters for this individual matchup. Because he doesn't uncover against man coverage. That's like the one thing even going to like the beat reporters this summer is like, oh man, like he doesn't get open man's coverage. Well, the Cardinals don't really run any man coverage. Pearsall's been targeted on 20% of his routes compared to 9% against man coverage. But it also matters this matchup because those deep posts and those deep ends, like those are the zone beaters in the Shanahan offense. Like those are the ones where you get like the big gains and the chunk gains. And if you look at Brandon Ayuk, and I don't want to do a 1-to-1 Pearsall versus Brandon Ayuk, I think Brandon Ayuk's a better receiver than Ricky Pearsall. But the top 3 yardage games for Brandon Ayuk in his career, 2 of them came against a Jonathan Gannon defense. Like he's getting those plays get dialed up against this scheme, this defensive scheme. So I don't want to ignore him because he didn't have the run out at a higher ownership rate last week. Then where people are like, it's just Jennings now. I still think there's some upside for him, especially with the types of targets he gets in this particular matchup.
So Jennings was a DNP both Wednesday and Thursday. I haven't seen anything for him today.
They said rest Wednesday, but like,
okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's something to keep an eye on. You guys listening will know more than we do now, but it's like one of those things where, because it was a new injury, is it like the ankle and then the shoulder? So like he was up to 91% route participation, Jennings, last week. Pearsall was at 93%. Those guys are both locked in, but it's possible, Jennings was only at 67%. We'll see. It is possible he's banged up again, and that hurts him.
Yep, could be.
And then Pearsall, I mean, he definitely does have that ceiling you're talking about. I mean,
he's not practicing today.
Okay. I don't know that people are going to like rush to play Pearsall, even if he's the only guy there.
I mean, if he's definitely the only guy, I'll be back because, like, part of my thesis was, and I actually lowered him by the time we got to set lineups after we did our show because Jennings practiced when we did the show. Jennings practiced Friday and then was up because at that point when we did the show last week, Jennings hadn't practiced all week and it looked like he wasn't going to play. And that's why I was bullish on Pearsall at the time. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to scale this back now in terms of ownership, but I'll be right back if he's the only guy. If he's the
Yeah. I mean, he has a 44% air yard share. That's 89th percentile. He's got a 74th percentile Whopper, which is higher than Jennings. I mean, he's got a big chunk of this offense. He also has 2.19 yards per hour, so he really hasn't been bad. I do think Jennings is like the safer bet for targets,
correct,
like we talked about. But yeah, there's upside here.
If you have say Jennings doesn't play, and you have Pearsall, and you like, how do you feel about when Brandon Ayuk comes back? What happens to these guys? Because this also could be a spot where like you just use this as a carrot for Pearsall and like try to move him
for
now?
sure.
Like,
yeah, I think you probably want to wait. I would wait until after this game because it's like, I don't know.
Because they're not going to run a lot of 11. Like we know that.
No, you mean when IU comes back? Yeah,
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I think you gotta.
And then you
I
have
think
Kittle
you
still coming back.
right. You probably want to wait until after the game and then try to sell high.
Something to think about though, just for throwing out
It
there,
is.
just as
It is. I mean, if you got a real active league where people are like, "Oh yeah, give me Pearsall because he's the only guy this week." Yeah, sure, I would do it. McCaffrey, any worries about his rushing efficiency, which has been horrendous?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about they didn't run well when he came back last year. He's made up ground just by all the receiving stuff, right? Like all the receiving work, and
25% target share.
and if we're not going to have Jennings here, how does it come down, right?
It might go up.
Right. I mean, he leads all running backs because they actually are working in the other running backs. Like in the first 2 weeks, he's only RB 15 and RB 13 in share of backfield touches. Like
Yeah,
they're trying to alleviate his workload as much as possible. It's just they haven't had any pass catchers available, so they're mixing in Robinson like in the rushing game and to get carries. But yeah, I mean, this offensive line is not very good overall. Like they've got Trent Williams and a 38-year-old Trent Williams at that. But the offensive line and Dominic Pooney is good, but like he hasn't been as good these opening 2 games as where we were last year. So maybe he has just had some regression, but like it's not a good offensive line. They didn't run it well when he was available last year either. So it has to be one of these things that at least exists that when this target share is not a necessity, is there some pullback here? But right now he's getting so many damn touches. Like
PFF has him at 24.4 expected fantasy points per game.
I mean, it's
PPR.
just yeah. And because the receiving stuff's so weighted too.
Yeah, and yeah. So he's a smash. He also might be
He's
completely.
looked good as a receiver too. Like he ran 2 sick
He's still
routes.
good as a receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he ran that the touchdown, the route he ran on the touchdown was awesome. He had another route where he motioned in the backfield and just ran like a comeback. Like it was just like, yeah, he can do it. But like, I do worry a little bit about the rushing efficiency that's like something we don't get back. But it also
Yeah.
could just be a thing that is a 2-game sample too. Like who knows?
It's tough because it's been 2 years now since we've seen
Yeah.
it. And yeah, so you start to get nervous, but
Like, and we might just not get the explosive McCaffrey plays again.
yeah. Yeah. Talk about a potential sell high. I wouldn't do it this week. I would just keep riding the points, but
There is still like the underlying metrics do show some fragility here. Maybe they're just trying to be as cautious as possible because it warrants it. But
yeah. No, but like his success rate's really bad. The
they're also
explosion isn't
winning
there.
though too. That's the other thing is when everyone's talked about ad nauseam about this 49er schedule all offseason, right? And they're winning games. And if by the time the 49ers get Ayuk back and they get Kittle back and they're running at full steam, like what if they're like 8-2 or some shit? Like there's no reason to run him out for an 80% backfield share, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and
That's
then
an interesting take. He gets worse as the offense gets better. That tells you something.
Seems crazy. But because right now they just need him as like he's needed as a pass catcher.
Yeah, he's needed
to the degree they're running him out there as a pass catcher.
100%. All right, should we do it? Talk the
yeah,
gem of
yeah,
the
and then we'll bring
here?
it home. We'll bring it home here.
Yeah, Cowboys at Bears. Why don't you kick us off on this one?
I mean, we got 2 bad defenses. I came out of week 1, remember trying to say like, man, I hope that week 1 was kind of an anomaly for the Cowboys with Matt Eberflus, and it turns out now we have a 2-game sample of the Eagles just throwing these 3-yard passes. But I was like, because we need the Cowboys to start giving up explosives. I was like, we don't want a bunch of teams. Like I was like, we don't want teams doing like the week 1 thing where it's like all these short passes and then the Cowboys don't have the ball. And like we want the Cowboys to give explosives so they get the ball back. They can create explosives. We start running. And they're like, we got it. Like, like it happened last week where Wan'Dale Robinson was creating explosives. It's like, all right, cool. Like, all right, I feel a lot better now about like the potential run out for this passing game. And the crazy thing is the Cowboys, they're running the ball too. Like, and we talk about Clayton Adams, that hire of Clayton Adams, because I don't think there's a Cowboy you could tell me is not playable in this game. I honestly don't think if you were like, I like this Cowboy, I'd be
Jalen
like, yes.
Tolbert.
Well, the core Cowboys.
No, I agree. All the big 3 pass catchers and
Javonte. Like, shit,
yeah,
dude, he's the RB7 in expected points,
man.
and
I know.
Yeah,
I
and
faded
he's
him.
doing it not just with like the touchdown deodorant, which he does have a little bit of boost the touchdowns, but he's rushing for yards over expected at a high rate.
Yeah,
His success
RB9,
rate's high. Like it's
RB10.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, the Cowboys wheels up all the way as it pertains to like Dak. I mean, just the way this matchup sets up. No Jalen Johnson again. Right now, the Chicago Bears are the worst team against throws 10 yards or further downfield. Like they're allowing a 74% completion rate on those throws. And
that's crazy.
the league rate is 49%.
That's crazy.
They're
Come on.
31st in pressure rate. They're not getting any quarterback
Yeah,
pressure. Like, yeah, there's not a cowboy where you're like any core cowboy, you're like, yeah, I want to play him. I'd be like, okay, cool.
Well, I mean, the Cowboys last week, they have this Giants defensive line that's quite good. It wasn't a huge problem for them. It wasn't like Dak was constantly under pressure. There were some plays where they got to him, but I think it affected. Sometimes you see with these matchups, like, okay, this defense is good at getting pressure. They don't actually generate a ton of pressure, but the types of throws change,
Yes, that happened
and
with the Cowboys.
that's what we saw. Where Ferguson becomes a big priority last week, and he had a shallow ADOT, but he was at 6.3, but he had a 28% targets per route run. Cavante Turpin only runs a route on 21% of dropbacks, but he has a 33% targets per route run. Kind of a big piece of that, the underneath yak stuff they're trying to do, get the ball out quickly. That obviously hurt CeeDee Lamb, who only had a 20% targets per out run, still 2.07 yards per out run. Wasn't a bust of a game or anything, but not the awesome explosive game I was hoping for. And then George Pickens is just at 1.24 yards per out run, only had a 15% targets per out run. Both these guys ran all the routes, 95 and 96% route participation, but they just didn't get targeted at the rate that you would hope for that game being really exciting. I think that changes this week. Like, to me, this is a big time spot for the downfield passing game. I think Pickens could be the dude here.
Mhm.
And Lamb's the number one
I mean,
and the
Lamb's
most
Lamb.
likely guy. Yeah, it's most likely that Lamb just smashes. But from like DFS perspective, and getting Pickens probably back into your lineup in
Mhm.
redraft, like I'm very in on Pickens here. It's a bet on last year's kind of you know talent level profile, like what it's sort of the returning to the preseason prior a little bit, because the targets really haven't been there yet for George Pickens, but like he is in the deep threat role. He is a 14.5 ADOT. Like, this is the point of George Pickens, that there's no pass rush. You can attack downfield, and you can attack downfield. There's a ton of weak links in the secondary, in addition to the lack of a pass rush. Obviously, we just saw the Lions completely light them up. I did note the only thing I guess I'm a little bit cautious on here is that the Cowboys' offensive line does not look that good.
No.
Tyler Guyton is having a really rough start to the year, and they're like the Bears do have like Montez Sweat, um, and Deo Dingbo both look okay. So I could see the Cowboys letting us down a little bit in terms of the pass protection, but even then, like, Javonte gets there, probably CeeDee Lamb gets there, but the highest upside version of this game includes Pickens going nuts, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're right now, and it's only 2 games, but Bears 31st in yards per target allowed to outside wide receivers right now. It's just this would be the spot. This would be the spot where you hit a home run. You hit the home runs.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could have had a couple already. Right now, he already has 80 yards in pass interferences. Uh,
Yeah, that's a
he
good point.
through 2 weeks, he has 19% of the NFL's pass interference yards. It's like kind of a fun stat, like to say, like
I like that.
like one
That's
player.
that's
Just
amazing.
yeah, one player. Yeah. He's drawn three
Yeah.
pass interferences for 80 yards so far.
Wow. Wow. We got to get those counting. Pass interference yards should count.
Yeah, we got to get
Um,
something. So
something.
listen, Scott Fish will be the one to do it. He'll be the one to
Yeah.
add it in his league next year.
The Scott Fish stuff. I got to set my
Yeah,
lineup
it's
for,
always
like, there's no
zany.
projected points, that I'm just vibing. I was like,
That's
hey, you play tight end.
yeah. The way I
Yeah.
draft my teams there is like I don't know. What is the scoring this year? I just, like Who
I have
knows?
Harold Fannin, so I assume I'm going to win the league.
That's yes.
um, Bears side. This is so I broke down some stuff on the Bears in this game and noted that this is kind of a fun write up because it like sort of started bearish and then got bullish. Where I was like, okay, what did Ben Johnson do last year? He had this very efficient, quick attack. Quick throws, 2.5 seconds or less. They were awesome last year with the Lions. They didn't actually run play action at a particularly high rate on those plays. What was happening instead is that because they ran play action at the highest rate in the league, but they had a really high play action rate when on longer throws, on kind of longer developing plays, and they were at 47% play action on throws of 2.5 seconds or longer. The Cardinals at 44% and the Rams at 42% were the only teams above 40. And the Lions were second in EPA per play on those throws. They were third in EPA per play on the short throws. So they were just good. But kind of interesting to see like low-ish 17% play action rate on those short throws, really high play action rate on the long throws. We're not seeing that in Chicago, that the play action rate is just lower, period. They're at 26% play action on the long throws. And the short stuff sucks right now. Like the EPA per play, the yards per attempt for Caleb Williams is close to the worst in the league. He's actually dead last in yards per attempt on quick throws, with 3.4 yards per attempt. Cam Ward is 3.8. He's the only quarterback below 4.5 other than Caleb Williams. So not good. But the long throw stuff has been okay. And although it's not kind of built into the Ben Johnson system, where you're kind of incorporating the ability to hit quickly and then the play action and the awesome run game, which they definitely don't have. None of this stuff is really coming together the way that I'm sure Ben Johnson was hoping. But this is an offense that you can freelance against and attack deep. As you mentioned, Wan'Dale Robinson can beat these guys. Like this is a Caleb ball type of setup. Like
Yeah.
this is where we get Caleb Williams playing Caleb Williams type of football. The marriage with Ben Johnson is not working, but he's just out on his own. He's getting out. He's partying. Ben's at home. This is Caleb Williams doing his thing. I think he could have a really strong game here. Obviously, Rome Odunze came alive last week, looking like the number one guy. You called that out last week as an awesome play with him running the big boy routes.
Who thank
Curious
God I was
your
a week
thoughts on
ahead
how
of
this
that.
breaks out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank God I was a week ahead of that, man. Him and neighbors, defend
Yeah.
families, man. Like
For real.
literally my 3 wide receiver core last week was Jamar Chase, Neighbors, and Rome. Like
Damn.
I literally had 100 points, like a receiver points, like out of those guys. It was even with Breece Hall, it was impossible for me to lose money last week. Like it
That's
was just
amazing.
because those ended up being my 3 core receivers. Because when Jennings got up, I kind of cut Purcell down. So it worked out great. I will say there is some signal here for DJ Moore. And obviously
Okay.
we're gonna yeah, there is a little bit of stuff here. Well, the reason, I said one of my big signals why I wanted Rome was the aggressive nature of the Lions defense. Like, the man coverage stuff looked really good. And now through 2 games, Rome has now been targeted on 47% of his routes against man coverage.
Wow.
Yeah, compared to 18% against zone coverage. No teams played less man coverage, by the way, through 2 weeks than the Cowboys. They just play all the soft zone, no matter if it was special. That's the other good thing about Caleb too, is they're just not blitzing or getting a pass rush. And like that's been Caleb's ultimate undoing through 2 years in the NFL, is like you put any type of pressure on him, it just all falls apart so far. Taking sacks, the low YPA stuff, all that happened. But this Cowboys defense doesn't do that. I still think you can look at Rome despite that, because the Cowboys are giving up all those splash plays, right? And that's still gonna be Rome. They've got 8 receptions to wide receivers on throws 20 or more yards. Like it's crazy, man. Through 2 weeks, and that's with just one of those being against the Eagles. The Jahan Dotson play. But the Cowboys also they've played through 2 weeks the most cover 2 in the NFL. And the sample we have against the cover 2 stuff so far for the Bears is DJ Moore actually leads the team in targets. So there could be a spot where this also, while the obviously Rome is still, I think, the alpha, and he's taking that over. And I still think that he's a really good play as well. But I do think that there also could be your Caleb doubles or to play DJ Moore. This could be a spot where he actually has a really solid game too as well, especially on DraftKings too, where the catches mean a little bit more.
Yeah, it's one of those like kind of boom bust setups for Moore. I think from he didn't get fully called out, but I think he got a little called out by Ben Johnson with like the we'll see who wants to practice hard this week, and kind of like someone seemed to quit on their routes. I wonder who that could have
Who
been.
could
It
it?
wasn't Rome. We
Who?
can rule him out. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that makes me a little nervous, but at the same time, those types of narratives kind of come and go pretty quickly in a NFL season where you're like, oh, this dude, they didn't like his effort level in week 2. And when you're coming off week 2, it's like, oh, that matters. That's going to be a big thing. And then no, we immediately forget because it doesn't matter because he has a good week 3 and a good matchup. So
And they
Davis also
they
mentioned
need to
DJ
play to
Moore. I
win.
think
They need to play to win this game. Like they're 0-2. Like
yeah.
so like he's just a guy like they can't afford to woodshed, right? Unless they're gonna finally play Burden. But
could they please play Burden?
Could they play Loveland and Burden? Could you please play the 2 guys use top 40 picks up?
It's crazy. They like their Loveland's at half the routes. He had a 5% targets per route run last week. Like why? He held catchless.
Yeah, just sad, man. We want these guys to play.
It's just sad. You got to play Cole Kmet. Why?
At first, I was like, man, maybe it's because these guys were injured. Like these rookies are coming off of injuries. Burden was hurt in the preseason, but it's like they've had all this time now to get acclimated. It's a similar thing we talked about with the Houston guys. It's like these guys should be playing by now.
Right. There's stuff that happens in the NFL where it's like clear that these guys like have a plan that they're like sticking to, but it's like a terrible, dumb plan that no one should have made in the first place. And it's just like, you're not smart for sticking to your plan. Like your plan sucked and it's clear, it's evident. Everyone knows. We're all seeing how bad your plan is. Change your plan.
Yeah, please.
I think I just talked myself out on Ben Johnson. It's taken 2 weeks. That's how much Luther Burton I have. I now think Ben Johnson's a donkey.
But again, there's nothing I can reiterate more about this game, though, is the game theory side of this game. This is where the ownership's going to be.
Yeah.
Everyone's projecting to be highly owned in this game. Like even Caleb, right? Like there are people like don't even think Caleb's good, and he's tracking to be like immensely popular on this slate. So
it's a great setup for Caleb.
Do not forget, because we haven't had slates like this. Utilize late swap this week. It's all I could, if I have a parting thing to say on this show, is this is a definite late swap week. Please utilize the late swap.
Well, you say everyone's going to be owned. We have running backs in the mid range opening up. I actually do wonder if Javonte doesn't really get that owned.
He would be the one that I think probably just because, again, by proxy of Mason and Walker.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's any update on the stuff.
Like the pivot off the stack to then go to Javonte, and then you stack up either Kyler or Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
That seems pretty good to me as a pivot. If you have the nuts in the early window, I'm not doing that, but
right. No, that's the way you play. If you are ahead of the field in the early slate, you take the chalk out. You're good to eat the chalk. You're plenty good. And then, vice in inverse. If your oneers fail, you've got to find other avenues to get points because everyone else is already getting those other points.
Right.
You need those other guys to fail.
Yeah.
So,
but there's
there's a couple
pieces in
linchpins of
this
slate. Yeah. I mean, it's everyone.
Like a Dunze, people are going to play a Dunze. That's not going to change.
Correct.
He's 5,300. He's the clear number one. People like him as a bring back. People are going to pair him with Williams. He's getting played. But yeah, I mean, Javonte, I don't know.
Oh, and Lamb, and with the running back salary, like Lamb is tracking for he's tracking for like 25% for a guy that price, just because you can do it. That's
where people will go. Yeah, totally.
Because again, we talked about the Jefferson stuff, and so it's gonna be Lamb and Rome. So,
but that'll keep Pickens in check. I think Pickens is another pivot.
Yeah,
potential.
Pickett, like I said, Pickens and DJ Moore will definitely come in lighter than the other two. Pickens, I would be way more excited about because the big play stuff,
Yeah.
and just that defense. But Javonte is a great name to remember, not to overlook on the slate, because we kind of talked about him, but then we're just like, yeah, he's doing this stuff. But like, yeah, I'm looking at it right now on the stuff I'm looking at, and Javonte's like sub 10%, and that's before even probably a Kenneth Walker movement. So like, he
You're
looks like
saving
he's
$300 to go to Walker. Like that feels good.
Yeah, Javonte looks like a pretty good definite pivot to just play outright, like in your player pool.
Yeah. I think he gets squeezed. Um,
Yeah.
Swift, not good. Losing work to a 7th-round rookie. But if you're gonna play Swift, you'd kind of want it to be where they're passing a bunch because he's got a
Yeah.
13% target share. He's 5,600. I think he's kind of like a running back 3. I think
It's
I
just
don't
how
think
does
I'm
he
gonna
make
go
how does
there, but
it's just how does he make your player pool this week? Like, you can make the argument, like, and just say, like, yes, because we could do that anytime for a GPP guy, but like, how does he make your player pool with like all the like us walking through every guy that was priced in this range?
yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Because like we still want to
He's
because
playable though in redraft.
Oh, yeah. And, because we've talked about even the guys in this price range, but, like, dude, we still wanna pay up for Bijan Robinson. We still wanna pay up for Jonathan Taylor. Like, I wanna get
100%.
those guys. So, like, I just don't see how Swift makes with just how he makes into my player pool.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. It's like if you're not doing CD, then go pay up for Jonathan Taylor or Bijan or Saquon. Um, don't
I'd
don't
rather,
play
yeah, and
Swift.
I'd rather do that.
Way rather do that. Yeah. All right, man. I think we've done it.
That's us
Told people about the worksheet and everything
podcast,
that's
but
going on.
yeah, listen, we covered a lot of ground though with a lot of nuanced
We sure did.
information. That's the way it goes. So appreciate everyone and definitely shout out everyone that has given us the positive feedback these first 2 weeks. We do appreciate it
We do.
as well, because that also encourages us to keep doing this, even though it's just two dudes talking for like 2.5 hours about these football games. So I appreciate it. I don't have anything cool for the worksheet this week because I was running around with my hair on fire this morning and I forgot to like reach out for a promo code. So I do apologize. If I do get one, maybe I can reach out to Pat to send it to Coleman, maybe put it in the YouTube description.
Sure.
But other than that, check out just the stuff at the site, because writing up all these games, we're building up that sample, right? The 2 games
Yep.
are now going to turn into 3 games and so on and so forth. And that's how you develop trends. So please check that out.
The trends are coming. All right, yeah, check out the walkthrough over at Legendary Upside, and I'll be writing up the Monday game as well. If you're a Legendary Upside subscriber, I also narrate the article. If you're listening to this, you're clearly into multiple hours of football content, which that article becomes as well. So there's a private podcast feed. Message me at legendaryupside@gmail.com if you need any help setting that up. One of the perks for subscribers there. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Good luck in week 3. Hope to see you at the top of the leaderboards of whatever you're playing, and good luck in your redraft matchups as well. See you next week.